What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Wednesday, May 1st. May 1st. And we're here. Boys, we got a packed show tonight. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. John Maakaron, the doc, is joining the program. Can't wait. It's always fun with the doc. He's had a busy weekend and Monday and Tuesday, and he's probably still busy. But he's making time for the fellas, so I can't wait for that. He has a lot. We have a lot to get into the doc since the last time we saw him. Obviously, the draft happened, so that'll be later in the show. So stick around until then. We're gonna get into some interesting topics today, boys. The D-Rob stuff, Darius Robinson. If you're unaware, perfect. You're in the right spot. We're gonna get into it. Mr. Detroit City, tell MCDC you can fuck my wife any day, anytime. Well, Mr. Detroit City, it's your prerogative. It's a free country. Is it true? Maybe this is not the time to bring it up, but I think this is not true. I want to make that very clear. I think it was a fake. Okay, I'm going to make this clear. I saw a little link. I was like, I'll Google Detroit Lions and look at different articles and stuff like that. And I saw something. It didn't look like a legitimate website, but it said like Dan Campbell and his wife got divorced. I don't know if that's true or not, but hey, if he did, hey, Mr. Detroit City, he's a free man. So hit him up. But boys, how are we feeling tonight? What's going on with you?
I appreciate you for asking that, Brady, but I don't know, man. I feel like I'm about to yak. Like, I feel like emotionally stable, but I'm just getting like waves of nausea. I went for a run and I was like, I dry heaved. Like, I didn't throw up because I had an empty stomach and I was just dry heaving. Then I felt fine. And I just killed like 5 hot dogs. They're just like the normal, like your average Joe hot dogs. And bro, I don't think it's sitting right. Like, I feel like I'm about to yak.
You just slaughtered 5 glizzies.
I was starving.
Not a big hot dog guy either. Not gonna lie to you.
Neither am I, but I had burgers yesterday, and I make something quick in the air fryer.
That's fair.
Like 7 minutes.
It's fair. See, if I have a hot dog, you gotta put some chili on it. That's how I roll. That's the only way I eat a hot dog.
Really?
I don't know if that's
this guy.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for that.
Mustard, no.
Get chili dogs are good. Hey, a good coney dog. Hey. I'm never going to hate on a coney. Mike, you know about the conies.
I stand with you on this one. I stand with you. That's how I eat my hot dogs, too.
You won't eat a hot dog if it has ketchup and mustard on it. You'll refuse it.
No, I'll just get something else. Yeah. It's not that deep, Lukas.
Is a little aggressive, But if we go to coney, I'm getting a coney dog. I'm definitely indulged.
As will I. As will I. But if I go to a baseball game and they got hot dogs and it's got ketchup and mustard, no, I'll eat it.
Hey, well, I guess a ballpark dog. I mean, you gotta indulge. That is if you're having a
stereotyping.
That's fair. Well, Joey has some advice. Is try chewing the glizzy instead of swallowing them whole, Lukas. I don't know if that. I don't know if you've heard that one. Is that the potential issue? Is that the?
No, yeah, that's not the way we ride over here. Yeah, I ain't sucking down no hot dog hole.
All right,
bet on that.
Hey, people are wondering. But fellas, before we get into anything, I do want to give you guys some news here that I thought was funny. All right, it's a good way to start the show. I guess not funny, but it's interesting. Maybe it's funny, depending on who you're asking. But Jerry Jacobs taking a visit with the Jacksonville Jags.
Oh. Well,
I saw the hashtag Lions towards the end, and I thought he was like visiting with the Lions again. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Well, hey, Jags need some secondary help.
Yeah, they do.
Get on the phone with Jerry Jacobs. They're looking for help in the wrong place. That's all I'm saying. They aren't going to get much help from that.
Good for Jerry, bad for the Jags. I also saw Will Harris signed with the Saints. How that man was able to pick up a contract anywhere else is beyond me. I mean, you're talking about Will Harris, Jerry Jacobs, Tracy Walker, Mike Hughes, Jeff Okudah, Juju Hughes.
Oh, man.
Probably one of the worst secondaries to step foot on an NFL field at one time.
Ooh, remember Juju?
It's up there.
Yeah. Yeah, Will Harris, that era, the chapter's closed with Will Harris. No more Will Harris. Depending on how you feel, I think most people are on the same page. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. He was a favorite for the regime. Dan Campbell, they liked him. Hey, they liked him.
All right.
For the regime.
He's a culture guy, huh? Big culture guy. They like him. Versatile. Mm-hmm. Can play corner.
Issa Abdul could do his jock strap if he wanted to.
Very versatile. Does everything mid. Not great at anything.
Who?
I said he's not great at anything. I'm talking about Will Harris.
Will Harris isn't even mid at anything.
Not you guys remember Nevin Lawson?
Give me him over Will Harris 10 times out of 10.
Nevin Lawson. That's
He had some moments. As a Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Him and Desmond Trufant. Opposite sides of each other.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Tough time.
I remember when they signed Trufant, whatever you say his last name, from the Falcons, coming off a big year. I was like, I can get with this little lock, and then it just
didn't go so well.
Mm-hmm. It stinked. But fellas, Will Harris, Jerry Jacobs, they signed elsewhere. This Lions secondary significantly improved. It's a good day. It is. I mean, it also in the news cycle too. Speaking of just players that were a part of the Lions, now players that almost were a part of the Lions. We talked a lot about Darius Robinson. Right? Darius Robinson, a guy that hometown guy, from Michigan. Potential option at 29 if the Lions didn't trade up. I saw a report today, and it was first reported by Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. And essentially, what had happened was Terrion Arnold fell, which none of us expected. We all expected him to go in the teens. But there was a scenario in which the Lions were planning to trade up for Darius Robinson. And they pivoted because Terrion Arnold fell. I think most organizations have some sort of backup plan. But Darius Robinson was almost a Detroit Lion. And I'll share my thoughts on kind of the Brad Holmes doesn't care about the edge position. Matthew Betts is the answer narrative in a second here, because this tells me that he's self-aware enough to know they need help at edge. But again, Brad's ideology, BPA, didn't line up when Terrion Arnold was there. And then obviously after the second round, we talked a lot about this. I thought after the second round, the edges just significantly dropped off. So if they didn't address it in the first round or the second, there was no shot they were addressing it at all. And I think Mekhi Wingo can play a little on the edge, but I like Mekhi Wingo. But in general, I'm glad it went the way it did. But Darius Robinson, there's a world in which if he wasn't a Lion and he was taken earlier, Darius Robinson would have been the selection.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have hated that either. My only question is, where did he actually get picked? Wasn't it 30? 27, so it was right before the Lions. No, I wouldn't have hated it, but like you said, the way it boiled down and it was best player available, obviously Terrion was there, and then you kind of leave Darius Robinson hanging. But like you said, I'm kind of interested because obviously he still had the need, or he thought there was a need for an edge rusher in the draft, and obviously it didn't pan out that way. But does he look to address this in free agency, get another body in there? But I wouldn't have hated it at all. But by any means, the Cardinals had a hell of a draft getting him and Marvin Harrison in the first round for sure.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Oh, here comes Boone too. Look at that, Boone.
Oh, Boone.
Oh, he's locked. You don't come in with those glasses. Those glasses. Have you taken those off? I don't think you have. What are you doing?
How you doing, boys? Hey, let's go, boys. What's up,
what up, Boone?
I had my Wi-Fi for a second, just went out. It was brutal.
Absolutely brutal. Can I interest you in some D-Rob, Boone?
You could interest me in some D-Rob. I heard what you were saying too, Jeff, by the way. I don't think it was just BPA. Terrion Arnold fell. He was the best player available. They had to go get him. That was all it was. And if he got picked before they traded up at 24, guess who they were going to go at 24? D-Rob. D-Rob was coming to Detroit, my guy. That was my pick to Detroit for months, was just give me Darius Robinson across from Aiden Hutchinson, and that man would have done it. But Terrion Arnold is a better BPA player than Darius Robinson. That's just a fact. It's a fact. And it happens to be at another big need. I don't even think like the reason that they didn't go D-Rob, to your point, Jeff, and they didn't go edge later in the draft, it showed that they didn't. I think it was just throughout the whole draft, the BPA just got, and this Rakestraw just ended up BPA. I just don't think there was good enough draft edges in this class.
Well, Klotz, I was told Matthew Betts, he's Cameron Wake. I thought he made
TJ
Brad pivot. I thought he made Brad pivot That's what I was.
We'll be lucky if the man lives up to be Kyle Vanden Bosch. The Cameron Wake stuff is just egregious. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would have loved the trade up for Darius Robinson, but if the board fell how we all presumed it was, I don't know if there's much better players offensively or defensively outside of maybe some wide receivers that could make an impact out for Darius Robinson, or the impact that Darius Robinson could, because Nate Wiggins started to fall. Ain't no way in hell I'm taking Nate Wiggins over Darius Robinson. So if that move would have happened, I don't think there would have been a single Detroit Lions fan that would have been upset. I just think, obviously, when you have Terrion Arnold on the board and selected, you're going to be a lot more excited.
By the way, did I miss the Glizzy talk? It sounds like I'm saying I missed the Glizzy talk.
I
heard Klotz was swallowing them whole. That's what I'm hearing.
No, that's what the narrative is trying to be turned into. But I shut it down. I don't roll that way. I prefer to chew my hot dogs.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that then, Klotz.
Yeah, that's a hell of a narrative, though.
Glad to hear that. You use teeth. What? What am I talking about over here? Shout out to you, Rob, though, dude. Brad, it sounded like Brad had a team already locked in as well to trade with to go up and get Darius Robinson. Like, that was already locked in. Like, if Terrion would have gotten off the board, I don't know if it was the same team. The Cowboys, they trade with the Cowboys, I believe, if they would have still traded with the Cowboys, but I think they had another team locked in, ready to go.
Well, it also makes me wonder, guys. We did the live show in real time. We're sitting there, we're watching the draft, and Dallas Turner himself just keeps falling, keeps falling. And Art, I think, has a good question here. I wonder if Dallas Turner was ever a thought in Brad's mind. Like, I wonder if that was ever like, oh, wow, he's fallen into the late teens. Because he did mention how he tried to trade up into the teens to get Terrion, I believe. But he didn't mention nothing about any other player.
When did Dallas Turner go?
He went 17.
Maybe he was. Maybe
he was kind of in that ballpark. Like, if you're going to get Darius Robinson an edge, I wonder what he thought about Dallas Turner. Maybe he didn't fit the other things they look for in players. Obviously, they have to fit. It's not just the talent. There's other things. Well, come on. Hey, Dallas Turner's got to be a little on his mind. Just like it.
Who would you rather have, fellas? And it's okay it's okay to say either or, but would you rather have Dallas Turner or Terrion Arnold?
Honestly, don't we be honest?
Yeah.
Are you saying if the board fell the way it did?
Yeah, the line straight up to 17. Terrion Arnold and Dallas Turner are both on the board.
So I would say take Dallas Turner and take Rakestraw as well in the second at 61. If that happened, I think that would be like most ideal. Like, if we're just thinking about most ideal scenario, you just got an edge and you got a potential CB2 to go with Carlton Davis as well. So obviously the Terrion things where he's going to be, in my opinion, at some point of his career, an all-pro corner, like, he has that potential. Awesome. But if you were able to get Turner and you were able to flip that and go get Ennis Rakestraw, brother, that is.
Yeah. Oh. I would do the same too. And I don't think anyone imagined Turner would even fall to the Vikings where he fell. I mean, same thing with Terrion falling too, but you pick up another edge rusher aside from Hutch, and then you can still get Rakestraw in the second round. Like, yeah, that would have been great. But I'm by all means, I'm happy with Terrion. He's going to be locked down and our cornerback room is figured out, but that would have been a great scenario too.
I think a lot of people saying Terrion Arnold are just saying that because he's a Detroit Lion now. I'm just going to be honest.
I think there are people that believe that Terrion will be the better player. Partially, I do agree with you. I think part of it's like Lions. He's a Lion, so it's easier to be like, yeah, of course, Terrion Arnold. I think Terrion will be one of the best defensive players. Well, Adam just actually put that. I do agree with him. One of the best defensive players in this class because of his talent. But Dallas Turner will be too. I mean, let's not get it twisted, fellas. And I go back to, this is where everyone hates me, and that's okay. Positional value. I'm taking that edge. I'm taking the edge, especially if I believe, and I said it, Dallas Turner, I think, was the best defensive player in the class. So if you're telling me the best defensive player of the class, even though it's not a significant, because some people had Terrion as their number one corner, I would lean Dallas Turner. But again, it's a tough. It's not an easy decision. But I'm going trenches, man. Hey, you take players that are impactful players, everything starts offensive line, defensive line, closer to the football. So I'm going with Dallas Turner. It's a hypothetical, but again, I do appreciate the conversation. It's fun.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I would probably just take Terrion just because how the receivers in the NFC North. Like, that's strictly why. I think there's edges that you can find that are similar to Dallas Turner. And I think there's probably corners in the future that you can find that are like Terrion, but I don't know if they have that physicality factor as far as like being a former safety that was able to move the corner and be the lockdown corner in the country. So that's probably why I'd lean Terrion, just because I think mentally he's a little wired differently to be that superstar corner. I think there's defensive ends that will be out there that are similar in talent to Dallas Turner. But then again, do they fall to 17? Probably not. I don't know. It's just, you could go either way. And I think either way, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, and I don't want this to be like we're revisiting, like, dang, I wish they would have traded up for Dallas. I'm happy. We're all happy with Terrion Arnold. I want to make that very clear. But it's a fun little hypothetical, right? It's May, for God's sakes. Like, this is what we're in right now. Hypotheticals and discussing fun things. But yeah, I Terrion Arnold, man, he is wired differently. That's probably one of the player is incredible, but the mindset is something that I can get behind. That dude is he's a workhorse. Up early, working his ass off. That dude will be their best corner probably by the end of year one, if not year two. He's a dude. He might even be their best corner. To be honest, who knows? He might just step out there and be the best corner. I don't know.
I think Carlton Davis is like a top 15 corner and probably definitely closer towards the back end of that. But I do think it's hard for any rookie just insert themselves as a top 15. But you never know. With Terrion, he could slide in there and have success right away just because he is just that. I think he's like an assassin off the field as far as how he attacks the game. Like, I think everything is coordinated for him. He talked about it. He prides himself on being a quarterback and a cornerback. So the way he attacks the game off the field, those are the type of guys that are the Brian Branches that know just how to just kind of pick it up right away, even after a couple of games. Go ahead, Boone.
I feel like I'm just I don't like this question being like pick Dallas Turner or Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold's.
I was just asking just
because he's a part of this team now. I love Terrion Arnold. He's going to be an all-pro corner in this league. So I don't, for the Detroit Lions too. So I don't like this question. I don't like the way this is going here. I feel like I'm being
it was not going nowhere.
I just didn't know on how high you were on Dallas Turner. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I feel like we've been set up over here.
No, you feel like you've been set up. Don't feel that way. Because
most of our most wanted lists, we kind of had those corners, and then we had like the back two Verse and Latu edge rushers like on the end at the end of our list because we didn't even think Dallas Turner would be in the conversation. So we still had corner in front of them, but Dallas Turner just wasn't in the convo.
Yeah, that is what it is. They got a damn good player. They got a top player at his position, according to many. At 24, like you can't even complain, dude. It's a layup. It's a great pick.
Similar value for both picks.
Like, it was funny. I was reading a comment actually, because I'll go and read some comments. I like engaging what the people are saying, and I was telling Booner this too. It was funny yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day prior. When we were talking about Terrion Arnold, and we talked about the situation he's walking into, which it's much more ideal for a rookie corner because he doesn't have to be your best corner to year one, and that's what Brad talked about, how good the roster's gotten, how much better it's gotten. And I think I mentioned that, it compared the situation, not the players. I made that very clear, but I guess it didn't register anyway. The Jeff Okudah situation where you're drafting him and you're asking him, all right, go out there and guard Devontae Adams. And obviously he's terrible. He's terrible as it is, but what he's asked to do is much better for Terrion Arnold. He's in a better situation. And someone commented, Jeff, how dare you defend Jeff Okudah? I'm like, what? Like I was like dying on the Jeff Okudah grave.
You're a Jeff Okudah guy.
Yeah, like. I mean, I guess so. And I guess so. I don't know. I was trying to compare those situations.
Chicago Bears fan and Okudah fan.
Yeah, I guess I'm an Okudah fan.
The narratives write themselves, Jeff. The narratives they write themselves.
I guess so. But yeah, he'll be. I don't know. I was talking today. I got my hair cut. Yeah, I got to stay fresh for the show here. And I was talking with Spencer.
Let's see. Let's get a little turn.
Do I look like lower Farquad? Do I look like lower Farquad?
No, I think you escaped the Farquad allegations for now.
Nice I was talking with Spencer, who he does a great job. He cuts my hair, and I was talking about we were talking about like the depth chart and corners and how many corners they got, who's starting. And you look at it, they have such a deep corner room. Like, I don't even know how you evaluate like CB1, CB2, CB3. And that, like, where does Ennis Rakestraw line up in all this? Like, does he even?
I think Amik Robertson's the wild card, man. Because I think and I could be wrong, obviously, because they could even just by default, which they probably will do going into training camp, put him as a CB2 just because he's been in the league and he just signed a contract. They're investing more money, so I think by default he'll be there too. And then I do think in camp and towards the start of the regular season, Terrion overtakes that. But I don't know if Rakestraw can. And I'm not saying that as a diss. I think Rakestraw is going to take a little bit of development. And Amik's a guy that's playing with the chip on his shoulder. He's just the number one corner in Vegas who's got to play a lot of good offenses. They had to play the Chargers twice a year. They got to play Kansas City twice a year. Obviously, you're not sweating Denver. But Amik's been a guy that's been able to hold his own against some good wide receivers in this league. So I think if people are looking past him and instantly thinking that Rakestraw is just going to go and be the cornerback 3 of this team, I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think that's another reason why Rakestraw could be moving to nickel, if anything. Because I think that's the path for him to succeed more. We always talk about wanting to move Branch back to safety. You're not going to be able to sign him. When I say him, Kirby and Iffy, one of those guys are probably going to be on the move. You put Branch back there, Rakestraw at your nickel. I think that's a very solid DB room.
I mean, you look at where he lined up this year. Roughly every three times he lined up at outside corner, he lined up in the slot once. So
who's like
that? Ennis Rakestraw. He had 104 snaps last year in the slot, 337 outside corner. So it's not like it's foreign to him, but I might fit his strengths better, to be honest with you, Lucas. Like you said, guy's a hell of a tackler. And you get Brian Branch back at safety. There's got to be a way. I agree with you. I think Amik Robertson is a little bit slept on. I don't think about Lions fans, but I think when the season starts, people just forget about him. But he should be out there week 1. And I don't know if Ennis might play right away, and that's okay.
Even if Ennis doesn't play right away, he's going to be like, that's some depth piece that we haven't had in especially in the corner room in a long time. And especially you've seen the last 2 years, corners get hurt in the division you're in. It's just elite weapons every single week that you're going up against. So you're going to need the depth. You're going to need those guys when it comes down to it. So just having a deeper room on top of being able to compete with each other and having Ennis Rakestraw learn from Amik Robertson, someone who's gone through this the last few years, and same with Carlton Davis and all these, and then like these two vets, and same with Terrion Arnold to learn from Carlton Davis. It just makes everyone that much better. Whether who plays week 1, who knows? I'm sure he's going to get snaps, but obviously Amik Robertson's probably going to be one of the main guys out there. And again, we're going to look at the depth chart a little bit later in this show. Look at the safety room and nickel and all of that. Like there's going to be spots where maybe guys have to move around, and you're going to try and just get Dan said it last year, like the best guys are going to play. Aaron Glenn, remember when CJ Gardner-Johnson came back and he was like, I need to play. And Aaron Glenn was like, best player is going to play. If we need to move guys around, whatever it is, whoever's the best player, we're going to find a way to get them on the field. That's what it's going to come down to come week 1 and throughout the whole season, especially in that corner room.
Yep. I think Amik Robertson could play some slot too. I think he did in Las with the Raiders. So I mean, you got some guys.
5'9".
Yeah, but he's great. He's great. He can blitz. He's a good tackler. I mean, he can do it all. You know, he
wants to compete too. He like the tweets that he puts out there. He's ready to come in and like go. He loves the fact that they drafted 2 corners. Instantly, he tweeted out and was like, "Here we go, boys! Like this is what I love to do." And we showed the Brad video the other day about, hey, we've got a bunch of proven starters in there. So we just drafted you guys. We already have proven starters. If you want to play, you're gonna have to beat those starters out here in the NFL.
Yeah, he plays the run well too. Amik is. I can't wait, man. He's a dog too. Well, I mean, speaking of players that definitely have to earn a starting spot, that would be Giovanni Manu. In John Maakaron, before we have him on 845, we're going to play some clips here from his podcast. And he had Blake Nill on, who's the British Columbia football coach, who coached Giovanni Manu. And he had an interview with him. It's great. So people should go check that out. And we'll probably ask John about it as well. But here's a clip of his coach kind of talking about his ability to potentially play right guard. And he had a couple other quotes. But let's play this one first. And we'll kind of give our thoughts on his answer here.
On the left side, there's been talk now potentially about him switching over to the right side, maybe even early on in his career, playing right guard for the Lions, maybe even an opportunity down the road to play next to Penei Sewell. I'm just wondering early on, what are the challenges for a lineman? I know most NFL, scouting departments look for linemen that have the potential to be versatile, to play at different spots, but it is challenging. What are some of the challenges from potentially playing left tackle to moving over potentially at his size to the right spot and right guard?
Well, footwork, basically going opposite with your feet a lot. Nothing that's not overcoming. You know what I mean, John? Like it's not like it's going to hold him back. It may take a couple moments to adjust. I actually think that moving Giovanni to a guard position is a solid. There's solid justification for that thought. Here you got a kid who's 350 pounds, is as strong as potentially most of the opponents he's going to face, and to have it makes his world a lot smaller when he doesn't have to worry about coming off the edge. About defenders coming off the edge. It just depends, what their plan is. But we played Giovanni at left guard in 2022 because of more of a need along the line, and he was pretty dominant, putting that big of body in that confined space.
I mean, you heard the man. He played a little bit of guard. He played a little left guard action. Giovanni Manu. Yeah, no gut. No gut. I'll keep saying it. Does not
just pure athlete. Just a pure athlete.
Dog.
Yeah, let's play this clip and then
dominate LeBron.
We'll kind of give our thoughts. But this is also Coach Nil on when he realized that Giovanni could play in the NFL. No, this one's good too. But check this one out.
Of his development, did you get a sense that he could play football at the NFL level, and what gave you those signs?
John, I talked to him, and we had another young man, Theo Benedict, who was highly touted to be on draft. I signed with Chicago almost immediately after the draft as an undrafted free agent. I sat them both down in 2019, explained to them in my experience and in the length of my career, I haven't come across many young men like them. Like we've put kids in the NFL before. I've put offensive linemen in the NFL. I actually have another one that's on the Dallas roster right now. And I explained to both Theo and Giovanni that they're just different. They're at a higher level of athleticism, a higher level of length. Their motivation, I thought, was incredible for 18 and 19-year-old men. And it wasn't rocket science that their potential was huge. And Giovanni just lived up to his potential. And that's what's got him through the last 3 years and has put him on stage where he's at now.
I mean, you heard the guy. I mean, he knows ball. I mean, definitely knows some ball there. And he talked about Giovanni playing some left guard because of a need there. I mean, they had some injuries, and he's right. He is a freak of nature. He's wildly athletic. I'll say it again: 6'8", 350, no gut. I didn't see one. I mean, the guy could have a 6-pack at 6'8". I don't know. He could have an 8-pack. But I'm excited. He's probably, I mean, if we're being honest in terms of competing, he's probably 2 years away. But that I can't wait. I don't want an injury. I want to make that very cle're. But if there's an opportunity,
come on, Jeff, I'm stopping you. I'm stopping you.
Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it.
There's talking about it, and then there's saying things like that. That's a difference. A little bit, just a tad bit.
Imagine he steps out on that field.
Okay, that's better. There we go. You didn't need to say all the other things.
Well, something's got to happen for him to step on the field, but he steps out there.
That was unbelievable.
And he's pushing people around. He's my favorite pick, guys. I don't care.
I'm with you on that, Jeff.
Favorite
The best part with it too is I think with Giovanni Manu and same with like Christian Mahogany, they're coming in to the number 1 offensive line in the NFL. They're about to, and it's not like just like, oh, these are like 4 or 5 just absolute animal depth, or not depth, but animal veterans on this offensive line that have been in the league now, and they know what it takes to kind of become that starter. And on the top of it, Hank Fraley, one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. So those guys are stepping into probably one of the best situations that you would want to step into in the NFL if you are an offensive lineman. And I would not be shocked. I think what's going to happen, Jeff, is I think Mahogany ends up starting before Giovanni, and I think he takes Kevin Zeitler's job next year. And then the year after, that's when whatever happens with the Taylor Decker, maybe they move Manu. Maybe oh wow, what is that?
What was that?
What was that? Jeff, he's just laughing with himself over here. I mean, I've never seen someone make their own joke and laugh at their own joke.
I don't know why. I just found that hilarious. So I added a boo thing.
Oh,
and you said he said Mahogany will earn it over him. I booed that.
Oh, Mahogany is going to be the one.
Play it one more time so we can hear it, Jeff.
Wait.
That is so.
That's such a Jeff boo.
Yeah, that was
not
unbelievable. I don't know. I do think though Mahogany.
I'm sorry, Boone. I'm sorry.
That was unbelievable.
I'm sorry, Boone.
You got booed, Jeff.
Good stuff.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I got booed by my like. We're on the same team here, brother.
Hey, this is what I thought it was at first. I thought it was like a Manu.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
What you said, Booner, is absolutely correct, but it didn't fit my narrative, so I booed you. My bad.
100%.
Yeah,
For sure,
no,
brother.
He was speaking facts. Mahogany's probably he's going to be better. He's right. But
If someone goes, if there is some opportunity to where someone has to go in and play this year, I think you're taking Mahogany over Sorsdale and Manu this year. If you need to replace a guard, like you said, if say the toe injury and Frank needs a week off because his toe hurts, you move over Graham Glasgow and you're throwing in Mahogany over anyone else, in my opinion. Like Mahogany is the most ready, even over Colby Sorsdale. Manu will have a shot though. Don't worry, Jeff. You didn't need to boo me. If you let me finish my sentence, I was going to say Manu is going to be a starter in 2 years, 3 years down the line.
I like that.
That was a premature boo. Jeff,
I'm going to be honest. I had that drop for a week. I just didn't know when to use it. And that one, I thought I knew you'd handle it. So I wanted to see your reaction. You were so lost. You're like, what the hell is that? Just booing you. I love the boo, man. That's funny.
I remember. Don't forget, I learned how to use the sound.
Yeah, hey, you boo me all year. I think it's funny.
I didn't know we had a boo. I didn't know we had an boo doc. I'm gonna make sure I boo someone.
No.
Yeah, boo doc. No, you're right, Boone. Mahogany's a better because he played a game in Boston College. He played against better competition. You know, like he did. So he's more.
He's weird to go like second round too. It's not anything against Manu. I think he's got a lot of potential, and Hank Fraley will unlock that over the 2 years. Christian Mahogany is more ready at this time. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all.
Can someone explain to me how the draft works a little bit here? Just like teach me like a second grader on how Christian Mahogany got drafted 6th, and he's the more ready pro, and Manu got drafted in the 4th round, and he's going to take 2 or 3 years. I guess it's the potential. But it's just because he was a projected 7th round, I believe, like 6th, 7th round, and Mahogany was the projected 3rd, 4th round, and we just did it opposite. I don't know. It's just really interesting to me how that worked out.
I think in the 3rd round, Booner, that's where I think, and even 4th, you reach for ceilings. But then when you get to like rounds 5, 6, and 7, there's a lot of light bulbs as far as NFL GMs. But not all of them are the brightest. And I think that's where Brad, just like I said, he just lets them mess up. He lets them fuck up. He lets a Wingo even fall. He's like, hey, we can get him. But they're not taking him now. They're probably not ever going to take him in general because they're sitting on the board in the 4th round. They're just passing out.
Right.
So I think Brad
takes their souls.
That's a lot of the draft.
What jersey is that over there, Klotzy, by the way?
Big Hutch. Not a new one. Not a new one.
Okay, no, you're a Hutch fan. You're a Michigan man. That. Let's go, brother.
It's fair.
Let's go, brother.
Wow.
Go blue.
Go blue, baby.
JJ McCarthy equals Jake Coker, Boone.
Hey, he's definitely in Ohio. No Michigan.
My bad. What did Klotzy say? His Wi-Fi cut out. What did you say, Klotzy?
I don't think it did.
I will say he's very much Ohio State fan. No other man is watching Marvin Harrison Jr. running routes as just practice.
That was artwork. That was artwork. That was better route running than Justin Jefferson. As good as an elite route runner as he is, couldn't even sniff it.
Man sends a clip in the group chat late at night. Just check out this man, like talking about how great he's going to be. I'm like, you're just watching him run routes.
He's going to have 1,100 yards as a rookie and like 8-9 touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't hate that.
Because I mean, who else are he's going to be throwing to? Trey McBride and Greg Dortch.
And Kyler Murray.
Very fine wide receiver. Lions make a move, bringing a Greg Dortch to this wide receiver room. I'd be a happy camper. You bring in Greg Dortch. Technician out of the slot.
Kyler's familiar with force feeding too from the DeAndre Hopkins game. So Marv's going to get his touches for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be that meme. It's like another touchdown by Marvin Harrison Jr. puts the score at 14-37.
They're getting killed. I don't know. Yeah. Jonathan Gannon, Coach of the Year talk. It's for a reason, Jeff. That defense might be a little dirtier than you expect.
Hyping up the Jonathan Gannon or the Colts. Come on, what are we doing?
The Colts, Booner. Is he not sleeping on the Colts, man?
I think he is. Again, I think we're doing our power rankings today, and I'm just gonna throw it up ahead real quick. The Colts aren't in my top 10, but I still think the Colts are going to be a really good football team this year. They won, Jeff. They won 9 games with Gardner Minshew, no Anthony Richardson, and half of the year no Jonathan Taylor.
Stand on business.
No,
I think they're going to be good. Doesn't mean they're going to be top 10.
This power rankings right now is going to look a hell of a lot different than it will in week 2, week 3.
No, it's going to look different before week 1 when I get closer to the season and I see cuts and I see training camp. I'm gonna change my power rankings today is just a mind thing. It's a mind thing. I want to start playing. I want to start playing mind games with the people with my power rankings. You're going to see what I did.
Yeah, you could call it whatever you want. I mean, did you have the Texans in there? I don't think they were in there. Your top 10.
Mine?
Yeah.
Don't talk about my top 10 until I reveal it, brother.
It would just be. I don't know. I didn't look at it, but it would just be
janitor
weird
talk.
If you had
to text janitor talk, Iafrate.
Why don't you not talk about my top 10? Don't give it away to the people.
I don't know.
I have a plan. I have a plan for my top 10.
It's so weird if the Texans were in there when they're in the same division. Like it'd be weird.
My top 10 is going to surprise a lot of people too. By the way, I think a lot of people just trust in me. Don't forget.
Right.
Trust on that defense, man. That's all I'm saying. Because I know you like that offense. I know you do with Shane Steichen.
He does.
But then you forget about the Forrest Buckner, Grover Stewart, and then you forget about Zaire Franklin, who led the NFL in tackles, Kenny Moore. They got a lot of
Klotz is right. I mean,
don't you diss Zaire Franklin, my friend. He's get hip. Get hip.
Hey, Zaire, very, very fine linebacker.
Latu.
I do.
Did you see Latu today? Did you see what he did?
No.
That man got a Colt tattooed right on his arm. An actual Colt. A Colt.
No.
He's locked in. That man, he might be offensive or defensive rookie of the year.
Did you see Xavier Worthy get the Chiefs logo and the pick on his arm, I believe? He got it tattooed.
Yeah,
bro, only making it past his rookie contract. They're the other team that's just going to be like the new just recycle wide receivers, I think.
Well, I didn't hate it because people were giving him shit for it, but if you think about it, that is the team who drafted him, no matter what happens in his career. So I don't.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it, but it is what it is. I like Shane Steichen.
I think that team's going to be really good. Jeff, we can make a bet. Well, how many games do you think they win? Let's be realistic here. We've got to start running over.
Lowest, if we're going floor, 8 games, ceiling, I'll go 10 games.
Klotz. I mean, what are we doing here arguing with this man? 8, like that's not a bad season. I mean, they had 9 last year.
I never said they'd be bad. They're not winning the division. That was my whole
over under 7.5. I'll take the over. You take the under, or 8.5. We'll do.
Why are you doing that? No,
let's do 8.5. Right in the middle.
Booner, the argument was who's winning the division. The Texans are winning the division.
I think the Colts have a chance to come down when it comes down to week 16, 17, 18,
I have a chance to win the lottery. I can go buy tickets right now.
Yeah, but it's a lot different chances than them winning the division. I think there's a good chance they win the division.
So they're going to win the division.
Their over-under is 8.5, and the under is favorited.
Let's take the bet.
No.
Over.
To win the division?
No, the win total. Win total
8.5.
See, we're
he's getting close, Freddie. I might take you up on that money. I put my nuts on the table. I said they were.
You did.
I think
I don't mind no, go on.
I think power rankings right now, a lot of it's off paper. That makes sense.
Fair.
Like I think you're looking at the teams off paper. But I think the Colts are just going to be – everybody's talking about the Texans, and nobody's talking about the Colts in that division. And they're going to be a tough, gritty, blue-collar, run it down your throat for 4 quarters. That's what they're going to be. And they're going to be hard. Once they get hot, once Anthony Richardson, if he stays healthy, can get his arm developed, they got a lot of weapons. And you already know, Jeff, they re-signed Jonathan Taylor. They're going to run him into the ground. And I think he's a great running back, so –
That's your pitch to me. You got to add that part in. They're going to run him into the ground. Well, I mean, very fine running back. I think the Colts, they'll be fine. I don't think they'll be bad. I'm not going to make that bet. But hey, Ben Augusta, he says, I was told we didn't need an edge. Apparently, Brad thought otherwise.
Brad said he fills the holes in free agency. Brad goes BPA in the draft.
He does.
So that I don't think the draft showed me anything besides drafted the best player available.
The D-Rob thing, speaking of the edge, he felt that if he was there and Terron wasn't, he was the best player, therefore he player available. So it just changed up. Alan, thank you for the $7. Says, imagine if Mahogany and Manu work out, we will be saving $30 million a year if Taylor, Decker, and Frank be out of the team. Yes.
I mean, shit, yeah.
On paper, contractually, yes. Who's playing center? It's probably a question for another day.
Imagine Manu 6'8", 350 center. Just
yeah. I mean,
that'd be terrible.
I'm just kidding. That's unrealistic.
No, I think Mahogany, if they both work out, yeah, you might have your future right tackle, future guard, paying him on a rookie deal. It's great. I don't hate it at all. The one thing I am worried about is who's playing center after Frank Ragnow. That's probably something they have to address at some point. Probably next draft, which people are freaking out because they traded like 1 pick, 2 picks, and now everyone's like, oh, they trading away all their assets. Dude, they still have all 7. I think they're missing 1 actually.
They had 2/4 from that. They're good.
2/3. Yeah.
Let Brad just be Brad.
Going all in is having every pick but 1. Like that's like,
yeah. Didn't someone say that he went all in this year because he made those trades? And it's
I think there was someone.
Yeah, I know exactly who it was. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, so I won't say names. But someone's like, "Oh, they went all in this year because they traded next year's pick." They still have their 1st round pick and 2nd round pick next year. Like your 2 biggest pick, they have both of them next year. Brad did not go all in. Pick. Yeah, you're going to get a comp pick. I think you still have a 4th. You probably still have a 5th, 6th, 7th.
Yep.
Maybe it's just around 3.
Traded, if he wants to trade up and use 2026 draft picks, he can.
Yeah, 2020. He did not go all in. That man was very strategic and very smart about what he did last Thursday. The all-in comment saying that this is your all-ins, that's, I don't know, interesting words.
Well, I'll tell you what, Boone. I would trade up every single time if John Maakaron was on the board.
What a transition for the man.
I would push all the chips in the middle and say, give me the doc. I don't care what I got to give up. Give up 3, 4 future first. Welcome to the show.
He's your Michael Penix.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, that's aggressive.
No, he's our Caleb Williams.
No, that's aggressive. I think he's a big JJ guy. Intangibles. John has intangibles. Therefore,
don't comp
Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he's the number 1 pick. Please welcome to the show, publisher of All Lines, which he's been crushing this week, man. He has. And, of course, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, which we broke down a little bit earlier. Please welcome to the show, Mr. John Maakaron. John, how you doing, my man?
Finally can relax with the fellas. What a crazy ass week. Got a toast to you boys at the draft.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, yeah,
and he got the Corona. Yeah.
Okay. Boys, real fast, before we get into the picks, you guys were right. It was crazy. I did like 15 interviews. And all of them, I said, please, Detroit, don't smoke the reefer. I parked at the casino to walk to the draft before I went to Allen Park on Thursday. And I'm directionally challenged, so I kind of blended in with the crowd. And look, I don't want to offend anybody, but I saw a group of ethnic individuals. I believe they were either Indian or Pakistani. They looked friendly. They were walking towards the draft, right? So I'm like, I should follow them. They probably are going to the draft. I can be safe. Literally, boys, they took 3 steps. It was 2 guys and 2 gals. They took 2 steps out of the casino, and this 4'7" gal lit up the fattest blunt I have ever seen in my life. And I'm like, what the hell? The thing was a stick. And she started giggling and laughing. The guys were like, you're doing this right out here in front of everybody? Guys, she took away the air. Literally, the plume of whatever she did smelled like so much weed. The second I left the casino, I was like, holy shit, Detroit smoked it up. But in the end, it was a good time. And I love being part of it. I met a professional wrestler. I love walking the draft. I felt part of the 775,000. I went into Allen Park smelling like reefer. But in the end, I had the best time covering the draft wall to wall. I worked 40 hours in 3 days and put out 40 stories. I'm loving it. And I'm still amped. I'm ready to go. I got more in the tank at 45 years old. Let's go. Let's talk about this draft. Brad Holmes killed it.
Yeah, you did. And we broke down your interview earlier with, is it Blake Nill? I believe
that's correct.
Yeah, that was we broke down some of his comments, and we'll get to Giovanni Manu because, John, that might be my favorite pick based on what he can turn into. The man, I'll say he's 6'8", 350, no gut. It's unbelievable. I'll ask you, John, to start us off here. We talked about it earlier. The report that Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, thumbs up. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, you know Sports Illustrated. He said the Lions were interested in a potential trade-up scenario that they would have acquired Darius Robinson if Terrion Arnold was not there. Your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people, he didn't address edge, which I understand. But we talked a lot before the draft, and the edge depth in this class to me was not impressive. And I think Brad kind of confirmed that by taking Terrion, but also not addressing it past, not really at all. Mekhi Wingo could play a little edge. But your thoughts on that potential scenario with Darius Robinson?
Yeah, absolutely. Love Albert Breer, man. Really connected. A good guy to talk to at training camp when he comes to visit. And he's definitely in the know and tapped into the Lions, has the contacts, gets the texts, and it's great being affiliated with Sports Illustrated. So, yeah, it makes sense, right? I had a chance to talk to Darius Robinson the day before the draft, and he fit the mold. I think he's well put together in regards to somebody that I think the Cardinals are going to really like and enjoy. I think that he would have done a lot of good things here in Detroit, but everybody pretty much understands the Lions had a plan going into the draft. And like everybody else, they were like, holy shit, 14 offensive players in a row drafted. That means Terrion can still be there. And I think that comparably, they probably had, Darius Robinson up there on their board, but when they can get the number 1 cornerback that's available, that fills a position of need, you go out there and you get it. And I think that once they saw the way the board fell, at first I was getting excited because maybe Dallas Turner could have been there. But you look at it from the Lions perspective, and they say, you know what? We have opportunities to get different players in later rounds of the draft. They have Betts from Canada who's going to get a shot. They have James Houston. They ended up drafting somebody that can play outside at edge at different positions in different calls. So to me, when the opportunity came to take Terrion Arnold, you don't mess that up. I think that he was clearly one of their top players on the board. And whenever Nick Saban, former state head coach when I was there, when Nick Saban gives you the stamp of approval at corner, that's all Brad Holmes needed to do. And to just move up 5 spots, I think that opportunity presented itself to go get Terrion Arnold. But I agree with I cannot disagree with Albert Breer. If that didn't shake out that way, if it fell the way many mock drafts felt like Terrion would go 15, then I think the Lions would have traded up for Darius Robinson, no doubt about it.
Wow.
I love to hear that. Doc, I want to ask you here with the obviously the corner situation now, Terrion at 24, and then second round, all of a sudden they go corner, and we were live for that, and we were all shocked. And I don't know if it was more so, at least for us, shocked that it was Rakestraw, but really more so shocked to see Your first round pick, you trade up to get a corner, and then they went corner again. And obviously, I'm guessing it's the BPA thing with Brad. But where are you on with that, the back-to-back corner? And you were in the room there too, probably with a lot of other reporters. Kind of, what was the feeling around Allen Park after the back-to-back corner situation happened?
Yeah, it was interesting. Clearly, we'll talk about Terry and what he projects to be probably a little bit later to answer some questions in the chat. But look, the position at cornerback was thin. You realize they upgraded, they got free agents, they recognize that you're not going to go into a season like last year with Jerry Jacobs and Cam Sutton. That was just a disaster. And clearly, Brad Holmes understood that you're not going to continue to have egg on your face at a position of need. It was just they tried what they tried. It was a complete failure with Cam Sutton and Jerry Jacobs. They moved on and quickly recognized, hey, we got to upgrade the position and have young talent. And why not have a guy like Ennis Rakestraw that many people projected to be available potentially at 29 for the Lions? And he fell because of injuries and things like that. But man, you have options now. You have two young guys that you don't necessarily have to play significant amount of snaps right away. You can go with veterans first while they learn. Now, I think that Terrion Arnold will compete to get a lot of defensive reps early on, but I love what Ennis Rakestraw can bring to the table in regards to his physicality, ability to play man, can shift over to the inside. If you want to give Brian Branch a spell, will compete with Amik Robertson. It's a win-win. And I know that when people will say, why would you go back-to-back at the same position? I truly believe that Brad Holmes had this targeted. And look, what a coincidence that the positions of need just happened to fall in regards to the best player, 2 offensive linemen and 2 cornerbacks. What a coincidence.
Scripted.
But I'll look at it like this. You needed those cornerbacks. And it's the position I hate the most on the field. It's so tough to succeed. It's hard to project. It takes forever for those guys to develop. And if you got 2 of them, then, hey, it ups the odds that at least one of them will be successful in your system. And if Carlton Davis only lasts a year and Emmanuel Mosley doesn't work out, you got 2 guys that potentially could be there in 2025 to be your starting corners and handle business. So win-win all the way around. People should be excited. And the mood was like, you know what? They needed it. And at first you're a little bit shocked. And most people are surprised they went corner. But at 61, what great value. And everybody's like, you know what? The corners were so bad last year. More the merrier.
And one of them has to hit. One of them has to hit. And I think they will. And if they both hit, Brad Holmes is just an absolute god at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. And Doc,
I wanted to ask.
Shit, my bad.
No, you're good. I wanted to ask you, Doc, that Brad gave us a lot to love in this draft. But when you're sitting back and you're talking to your sources, I don't know if you talk to the players by chance. Who do you find yourself getting most excited to see, not necessarily in year one, but see pan out of this draft class?
I'm sorry, I just got a comment. Say that last part again.
Who are you most excited to see pan out from this draft class? Like, who do you find yourself getting most excited about as you're writing these articles?
Oh, man, the class is great. Look, corner's not my favorite position. I know we're going to talk about Giovanni Manu, but I tomorrow got a guy I'm in contact with. You guys have read his articles, Justin Mello. That man loves interviewing these draft prospects. So I have a relationship with him. He drops me a line. He's like, hey, which draft pick you want? And I'm like, Terrion Arnold. He's like, you can't get Terrion Arnold, bro. Come on. And I'm like, okay, then I want these guys. And so the first guy that he's going to feature a Q&A on All Lions is Mekhi Wingo. And boy, do I like what he brings to the table. When you look at his tape with leadership, you get pressure from the inside. And in my mind, I think that in a couple years, you might have the opportunity to have him play alongside Broderick Martin. You see a guy that wore number 18 at LSU that is nasty, feisty, and he's a guy that's a gamer. Could have turned pro and turned his back on his teammates, but didn't, fought through injuries, and is somebody, look, I'm not going to compare him to Aaron Donald, but if Brad Holmes targets you along the interior at your size and very similar stature and playing ability, lends me to believe that, hey, they like his tenacity, they like what he brings to the table, and check out his interview with All Lions special writer Justin Mello, who I work with and does a great job for us. And he asked some good questions of Mekhi Wingo, and I think he's going to be special. And look, you guys got to start talking about it. Is Aleem McNeil going to potentially come back to the Lions? Not because the Lions will not offer him a deal. He'll get a fair deal. But that's a guy another team could say, hey, let's go and see if we can leverage and get a lot and get a big fat contract a la Jonah Jackson. And if Aleem McNeil doesn't stick around, maybe in a couple of years, Mekhi Becton is the guy along the interior. Mekhi Wingo is the guy that comes in and replaces him.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Doc,
like
the Lions obviously traded up to get Sohn Vaki, kind of a weapon on both sides of the ball. Is there any news really that has came out, any more news than how they plan to use him?
Yeah, I think that clearly they loved his special teams prowess. They loved the guy. Brad Holmes was almost took his breath away talking to Danny Rogers, saying that the guy did 4 pro day workouts at 4 different spots.
Jesus.
He's like, the guy was literally so exhausted, but kept grinding, doing special teams, running back, defensive back, safety drills. So the guy did a lot of different things to impress the Lions, and the Lions value special teams. I think right away you potentially could see him have an opportunity to compete as the returner. I think that he's going to compete to be RB3. I don't think he'll get that spot. I think Craig Reynolds and Bam Knight, I think, are guys that have a leg up right now. But I think that early on, you see a guy that the Lions value that has all the intangibles that they would like, especially, hey, if you need him at safety for a spell, if some catastrophes start to happen and you want to see what he can do in different spots later on in the year, you have a guy that can do that. Or, hey, Ben Johnson's probably like, hey, hang out in this meeting room. We want to see what you can do in some run packages and get him some yards. His yards per reception were sick at Utah. And I think that was the guy that everybody had in their mock draft because he took a top 30 visit. He played safety. Many people thought he was going to play safety for the Lions because Kirby Joseph's not going to be available until training camp because of his hip. But you got a utility guy that can do a lot of different things. And that just gives the coaching staff so many options, which they love. And I think that Vaki's going to be a guy that Detroit's going to embrace pretty quickly.
Well, to kind of speak on your interview, and it was a great interview. People should go check it out. Talking about Giovanni Manu, you spoke with his coach. John, when this pick, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna play like I knew all along when he was announced. I think me and Booner were live at the time, and we're sitting there and we're like, "Ooh, okay, interesting." Wasn't expecting the selection, but then you look into it, and I'm like, "Who is this man? 6'8", 350, athletic freak, no gut." I don't know where they found British Columbia. They went and found him, and he's got a lot of upside given how big he is, size, but athleticism. Again, you have Hank Fraley, you have all these veterans on this offensive line. He's in such a good situation. He's not pressured to play right away. He can develop. In your eyes, is he most likely going to be kicked to right guard? Because Scott Bischoff came on and he had some great points about it, how you'll start to play him at right guard to get him used to eventually playing right tackle. Is that accurate for someone like Giovanni Manu? Because I do think that's the right way to approach this thing with him.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Yeah, I reached out and just to talk about myself here for 1 second. Before, when I would send these interview requests in the past, purely ignored. Nobody would email me back. Now, when you share certain things with these guys, they email right away. And I'm very satisfied with the interview. It was great to hear a guy that sounded Canadian, the offense that he was talking about. Now, if you paid attention to the article, a tie to Detroit, he is the first cousin. Giovanni Manu's coach, Blake Nill, is the first cousin of Jim Nill Gentry, the guy, the general manager that put together the 4-time Stanley Cup winning Red Wings. That's his cousin. That's Jim Nill's cousin, Blake Nill. So
small world.
Yeah, it's a very small world. And
that's wild.
I loved his interview. He's like, "Oh, I should have said that on air." I'm like, "I'll put that in the article, man, no doubt." He was so fascinating to talk to and so energetic. And he said it. He's like, "You know why I think Giovanni's going to succeed? He's going to Detroit." And he's like, "I coached him up hard to understand, hey, handle business and understand that, hey, you're going to be in a professional system." Now, look, this guy is raw. And quite frankly, when Brad Holmes stands in front of the podium and says he played low-level competition, he played at the University of British Columbia. But, guys, the NFL don't give a shit about that. You know why? He's got the intangibles. The man is 6'7", 350 pounds, runs a sub-5 40-yard dash. And the coach told me, he's like, "Look, Giovanni at first is going to be a little bit starstruck playing in the NFL. But when he realizes that he's a man among boys, that he can physically handle the task at hand, he's going to gain confidence and he's going to destroy other dudes at his size and physicality. So yes, absolutely. I asked the questions. I asked directly, is there going to be a challenge for him to play right guard? He's like, yeah, minor. It's not a big deal. People are making too much of it. Yes, he'll play right guard potentially early on at rookie minicamp. He'll learn from Penei Sewell, and I do expect that he'll compete to be Detroit's right tackle of the future, but way down the road. I think 26, 27. And I don't think he's going to see the field anytime soon. He's got to learn the NFL game. He's going to take some time. Look, you got other opportunities as well. You can't just throw a guy in there. He is the definition of a project. Now, will he maybe get onto field sooner? Potentially. But I think you got to just be patient with the man and give him a couple years to develop and learn the game, the speed of the game, understand that he didn't play collegiate football. He played at the University of British Columbia. There's going to be some things with fundamentals that he's going to have to pick up. But yeah, be excited about it, because at first, when you start to see the film on him and what he can do, when he gains that confidence, coach said, look out. Bottom line, guys, he had at least a dozen NFL scouts drooling over his workout. Like, what the hell? And the coach told me the Jets were in on him. They wanted him, and we got wind of him. You know, our writer at All Lines had him as a day 3 pick later on, like in the 5th or 6th round. But Brad Holmes doesn't mess around. When he's afforded the luxury to be able to find guys that if they have the intangible stuff to work with, the athleticism and the framework of somebody that they can put in there, Brad Holmes has got the ultimate courage to put him in there. So I'm confident that he's going to be given all the opportunities to compete and play at a high level, and to learn from Penei Sewell early on. It's going to be great. And the veterans and Kevin Zeitler and all that situation. So he's got the Broderick Martin redshirt year coming up in 2024. He's a redshirt.
I love to hear that. John.
He's a redshirt.
I love to hear that. Want to ask you this: post NFL draft now, it's all done, everything's done. We had this conversation on our show yesterday about now, as you get into training camp, there's going to still be some free agents and things with the depth. Obviously, I think a lot of people, the questioning, at least on our show that we spoke about, is maybe that wide receiver a little bit, if they attack at another wide receiver or if they go after maybe another edge. Where do you stand now that the draft is done? We see what the roster looks like. We're heading into training camp. Do you see them making more moves, or do you think Brad feels very comfortable with this edge room and this wide receiver room right now?
Oh man. Yeah. Look, post June 1, when those cuts happen, I fully expect them to be active, but they don't need to. Listen, the best part about what the Lions have set up right now is they have the options to either, stay with what they've got. If you want, look, man, they just gave Williams from Illinois a couple $100,000 and what I think is probably one of the biggest UDFA contracts out there, guaranteed money. So he's going to have a chance to compete. I think that you got guys that are on this roster that have a chance to do some things. But, first and foremost, let's just squash guys, DJ Chark was injured so much that you got half a season out of him. You don't want to give a guy $8 million to play 7-8 games. So put that aside. I know he donned the jersey, smart man, very nice guy, but put that aside. You need guys that are going to play and be available. The guy has an injury history. Doc. So availability is the best ability. And this love affair with, oh my God, let's get DJ Chark. Look elsewhere. Look to Zay Jones. Zay Jones.
Thank you, Doc.
Absolutely.
Zay Jones.
So if it all works out and, the opportunity presents itself at the right price, they could. But I think they're happy with what they got at edge. Betts, James Houston. And guys, I know you haven't heard his name yet. You haven't seen him out there yet, but don't sleep on Marcus Davenport. Guys,
you said it, Doc. You said it.
You gotta give him sleeping. You gotta give him a chance before he gets hurt 9 games into
by
the
default,
season.
though. By default, you gotta give him a chance. You have no other option. Doc, you can't tell me they should not go out when these training camp cuts are made. They should not go out and add another person in that defensive end room. You can't tell me that wouldn't be the best move for him.
Matty Betts.
Yeah, no, I for sure expect that when those names come out and when the edge names come out, there'll be some interest in that. But again, you look at it and you say, Wingo can kick outside as well and play some outside as well, play edge. You got James Houston, you got Davenport. So I know that people think it's a bigger need. I think that if it was really a need that the Lions would have considered, they would have drafted somebody. So they looked at it and they debated. And I just want to address Michael's comment there, Michael L's. Look, general managers lie all the time. Yeah, I believe Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw were high on the board, but I don't think the gap in their board between the cornerback position and the edge position was so great that if they would have taken Darius Robinson, they would have said the same thing. Best guy on our board. We had him rated higher. It just so happened that they got 2 linemen and 2 cornerbacks, and Brad saying, oh, we don't focus on position. Okay, guys, just look at what happened. They needed those 2 positions, and they got 4
BPA,
players.
Doc.
So listen, he's spitting some PR sometimes, but we can all sniff it out, and it's fine. You needed those positions. You got good players, but you can't sit up here and try and run stuff past people that are watching what you're doing. Oh, it just so happened we needed cornerback, we needed linemen, and now we got 4 players at those 2 spots. You could have drafted different spots. You could have, if you decided, look, clearly Giovanni Manu was not the best player on their board in the 4th round. They thought that he had potential. They said, okay, we can get this guy. We like this guy. There was somebody else that you could say, hey, could come in right now and play NFL football. But hey, you take the chance. You're afforded the opportunity to gamble. But at the same token, at the same time, we can understand clearly that Brad Holmes filled some needs at positions that the Lions were weak at. And it's great. I think that I like that idea. One potential project every single year in a draft. I don't care that he traded next year's 3rd round pick. I don't care that he maneuvered. I think he's a draft wizard. He can call anybody he wants and get that 3rd round pick back if he wants it. I think people in time here, it's fun for me. They love their compensatory pick stories and they love their draft picks. Like, guys, Brad Holmes only took 1 pick at the spot the Lions had. He moves all over the board. He does not care. He'll move up. He'll move down. He'll move sideways. It does not matter. So don't worry that he traded picks. It's okay. If the Lions want a guy, they'll get him. And like the chat said, don't forget about Donovan Peoples-Jones. I know that he's always underperformed and was at Michigan and is always under the radar and comes into Detroit and has 4 catches. But maybe they'll throw him the ball this year.
DPJ is the answer. He is the answer.
Maybe.
Yeah, and Doc, obviously the whole NFC North really had pretty good drafts. The Packers, Vikings adding Dallas Turner, JJ McCarthy, and then you got Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze going to the Bears. How do you think the Lions stack up post-draft to those teams?
Yeah. It's one of the things that everybody talks about is, oh man, the chess pieces. The Bears went on offense. They got Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. Clearly, people are very smart here in Detroit. They're like, well, the Bears don't have an offensive line. It's total shit. So the Lions should have the advantage there. The team that you got to most worry about is the Green Bay Packers. I do think that Minnesota took a gamble with J.J. McCarthy. He had the intangibles. Now let's see if Justin Jefferson wants to stay there. Does he get the money? I think they are going to be in a situation in which you got a young quarterback, and let's see what that looks like. The team you got to be most worried about is the Green Bay Packers. They're most ready to battle with the Detroit Lions. The Bears, though, man, don't sleep on the Bears. Caleb Williams, look, they give him the best opportunity, at least on offense, when you got Swift, DJ Moore, you got Keenan Allen, and you got Rome Odunze. That's serviceable to start your career. And I had a chance also last week to talk to Eric Kramer, and he told me, look, if Caleb Williams can stop trying to be the hero and just take what the defense gives him and stop trying to be this, do-it-all Mike Vick type quarterback, if he grows up quick, then he's going to have the opportunity to be successful. And I think he will. I think that he wants to prove a lot of people wrong. I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are. I think the Lions can get in his head mentally. One pop from Aiden Hutchinson will send that guy's head spinning to town. But right now, it still stands to me that the Lions are still the top of the NFC North, but the Packers are right there. It's all going to depend on Jordan Love and how he develops. If he takes that next step with the weapons that he's got, man, it's going to be something to see. The competition, and Brad Holmes was asked, we asked Brad Holmes, is this division, the NFC North, amongst the best now in the National Football League? And pretty clearly, he got stern and serious and said, yeah, we expect it to be real tough, but we're in the mix as well with the moves that we made. And the Lions got drastically better. Guys, when you look at what the weakness of the Lions was last year, that defense did not, at points, do what it needed to do to help this football team get to the final step. And now that you got cornerbacks that you can trust a little bit more. Now that you got upgrade along the defensive line, can get more pressure. I think this defense can now go from the 19th ranked defense into the top 15. And that's probably the step that you need to take that final step against a team like the 49ers. So I'm excited. This football team got better at a lot of spots, and you already have an offense that can shine. But the NFC North is going to be tough. It's going to be a grind each and every game. And man, you guys have noticed too, now since the Lions have been on top, all the fans of the other NFC North teams are talking a bunch of shit about the Lions, and they're getting in the mix, talking about how sensitive the Lions fans are. I love seeing the debates, and people are just pushing Lions fans buttons and back and forth, talking about how shitty the Bears history has been as of late and all the shit that they're doing. But man, it's going to be a fun time in this NFC North. I can't wait to see those 6 games.
Well,
another
John,
player.
No, go on. Sorry. You're good.
Say, just to pick your brain real quick about it. Another player we haven't really spoke on too much is Christian Mahogany. What do you think the Lions plan to use on him? What do you think his path is for the Lions as far as when he could potentially see the field?
And is it true, Doc? One leg's bigger than the other? What's going on with that?
Crazy development.
What's going on with that, Doc?
Wild development.
You know, I don't know how you gracefully look at some guy's legs without, at my height, it might end up being perceived a totally different way. So I'm not going to worry about leg assessment, right? Right, exactly. I'll let Dave Burkett ask, I'm not going to be looking at his legs. Look, I love the fact they called him a dirtbag. I love the fact that you guys saw it, the keg stand celebration. That might be my question at rookie minicamp. Are you going to bring the keg stand touchdown celebration to the Lions? And look, I think that early on, both of the picks, look, a later round pick clearly indicates he's got work to do. He fell 100 spots. He's clearly great value, which indicated in this draft that the Lions, many people realize Lions had one of the best drafts in the NFL based on positional value. You realize this guy can be a grader, can be a guy that, can be a guy like a Kevin Zeitler, a guy that can handle business, and a guy that in the future can project to be a starter. But early on, developmental, he's going to have to battle to get a spot on this roster. I like what you see the tape. I think that, fundamentals are good, solid footwork, strength galore. And I think that he's going to have the great opportunity to have something to prove, being that he fell. And, some people will say maybe there's also some personality type stuff or the issue with the health or his leg. Look, doesn't matter. He's got stuff that people like, and he's got the game that drew the attention. He's got that ability, I think, to want to come in and compete. And he already changed his name to Christian Dirtbag Mahogany. And I think that, look, and that's what Coach Neal told me, is that the Lions have really a lot of great strengths in terms of their front office, but their coaching staff. We need to give a lot more credit to Hank Fraley and the development of this offensive line. And a guy like Mahogany is going to learn from Kevin Zeitler, from the likes of Graham Glasgow, Penei Sewell. You're going to have and the competition with the defensive line is going to be great for his development, especially on the second unit. So I think that it'll be a situation in which this guy in a year or two will make more noise. Later round picks, guys, they just don't make as much impact because right now, clearly, they took him as a guy to develop because they have 5 starters that are not going to give up their job unless it's to injury, period. Their 5 starters are set.
John, I got to ask you, because we've especially before the Darius Robinson stuff, that Brad was interested in him if Terrion didn't fall. I keep hearing Matty Betts may be the answer. Okay.
Oh, fucking God.
I made a very bold claim, John. I want to know if I'm off on this, you'll hold me accountable.
These guys are quick to write people off.
Jesus. I told Boone we have a little bet. I think we bet on it, right, Boone? I'm not sure.
We did. We made a pizza bet on if he makes the roster after training camp.
Yeah, I think he'll be a very fine practice squad player. But John, are they correct in their assessment of Mr. Matty Betts? What's going on? What is he going to bring? Is he the answer, John?
My man, you don't respect the 18 sacks that he had in the CFL. What the hell's wrong with you?
18 sacks is 18 sacks.
In the CFL, it caught someone's attention. But look, guys, I know we romanticize about these guys. He's got an uphill battle. And so I side, was this the guy that you guys were talking about with Booner holding Jeff accountable and all that stuff I was reading online. I didn't get a chance to see.
No,
You know what?
Jeff,
there was just a lot of
was
things
running
in our
his
show.
mouth saying that the Lions don't need another wide receiver in that room for depth.
Yeah, Jeff, there was a lot of things yesterday that I had to hold Jeff accountable to. The Booner Path, winning the Super Bowl, wide receiver, Matthew Betts. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Whoa. We'll get to that after, John. Answer the Matty Betts question.
Yeah.
We're going to run that one back.
Got it. I love it. I think that's what you guys should do. Accountability is key. You guys are putting stuff out there for the world. So Booner's checking Jeff. I'm definitely going to go back and listen to Tuesday's show. But look, guys, Betts played in the CFL. That's not the highest level of competition in the world, but he did perform well. So he'll be given an opportunity. So I don't come in and go, yeah, this guy can light up the world. I think he's 4th on the depth chart. That's where he starts. So to me, he's got an uphill battle. He's going to have to battle Davenport, Wingo, because you clearly, I think draft picks get viewed a little bit more highly than guys that you just bring in that are from the CFL. And then you got James Houston. So I think right now, the verdict is that he is a practice squad guy, and he's got to earn his way to be able to have an opportunity. And unless he comes out training camp and just lights up the world, I don't think he jumps that much. I think Jeff wins the battle here. That look, I stick with the veterans. I like what we need James Houston to develop. There's only so many reps to go around. James Houston, Wingo, Davenport. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good start right now. Betts will be given a shot. He'll be the guy that plays in that 3rd preseason game a shit ton to see if he can perform. But at this point, you can't project that he's going to be a guy that's going to be the savior of defensive line. You got guys that can do that. You should be confident. Don't sleep on James Houston. The guy's going to be hungry to come back and earn his spot. I mean, hey, they drafted a defensive lineman. He's going to have to earn his keep. And again, I think a guy like James Houston has a lot to prove, that he was considered the problem. And then the problem was he got hurt, and he wants to prove that he can be a 3-down outside linebacker. And for him, he's got a lot of work to do but hey, when you burst on the scene with 8 sacks, I think that you gotta trust Houston and Davenport to start the year, and then you go from there. But hey, I could be wrong. Betts could come out and be the Canadian Mountie freak out there, and it could be the Canadian guys that run this team. But at this point in time, you can't project that going into training camp.
Hey.
Hands are up. Hands are up. Mine. That was not me. I promise you.
Well,
that's all good. All good. I like it. Well, I love it.
Guys,
here's the thing.
I would never boo the doc.
Hey, James Houston is the problem. I promise you, Matty Betts is not the solution. All right, I promise.
Right. That was a real good one, Jeff.
No,
that was a great. You really killed it and crushed it with that comeback, man. That was good.
Here, John, I'll bring up what Booner held me accountable for, and I want your
thoughts. A couple things. It was a few things. It wasn't just one or two. It was a few things.
I don't know about. We have to get the replay on that. We got to throw the flag on that. But let me ask you, John. Okay, at least on the wide receiver conversation, this is where I'm at with it. I was down for the Lions, not in the first round certainly, but to draft a wide receiver based on potential, based on hey, you take a flyer on somebody, preferably round 2, 3, whatever it is, 4 or 5, whatever it is. In hopes he can, you believe in his potential. But now that they didn't take one, you're convincing me, Jeff, just bring in a Zay Jones, bring in, a DJ Chark. My argument is I have as much faith in DPJ to be better and produce at the same level as those guys. I'm not harping on hey, you got to add a wide receiver. If you want to bring one in, cool. But I don't think that's nowhere near as close of a need as edge. That was kind of my point. Like, I think DPJ can fill that Josh Reynolds role. I do. And they still have some guys behind them, and they brought in Isaiah Williams. I don't know what they have in him, but we'll see. I'm not as like Zay Jones or bust. That's
right.
What do you that whole conversation?
No doubt. I do want to address Michael L's comment real fast, because people make these comments that just are like straw man arguments. He writes, they did not bring in a 29-year-old Betts to sit on the practice squad. They believe he can make the rotation. Yeah, no shit. They want him to compete. But what I'm telling you is I'm giving you my assessment that for him to climb is abnormal based on what you see in the NFL. So going into it, without ever seeing him play live NFL practice footage, I don't think that he's going to jump the guys that are already on the roster. I was having a conversation earlier about cornerbacks. We were talking about Terrion Arnold, and they were like, oh, the guy said, if he's not ready, he won't start. And I was like, yeah, no kidding. But the question I'm asking is, do you think he will start? The question was posed, do I think that Betts will jump the depth chart? My answer is no. And if he comes out, I would love for him to come out and be like, man, I'm just trying to make this practice squad. No, he's trying to compete at the highest level. He's going to go up against those second string offensive linemen, and he's got to win those reps. I just don't see it. I think that's where he's going to end up. But that doesn't say that the practice squad development doesn't lead to. That's where James Houston developed over 8 weeks. Don't forget, Michael, don't be so jumpy there in regards to getting somebody on the field. They bring guys in for competition too, to also send a message. Hey, James, we got guys behind you that if you don't step it up, some guy will be there to take your place. So it's competition. Now, at the wide receiver spot, I think it's real interesting because we all are looking outside the organization. I think inside the organization, you have enough. Because look, right now, going into the year, you have clearly Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have tight end Sam Laporta. It's going to get a lot of love, a lot of footballs, 100 catches each, let's just say. Jamison Williams, we need to get between 50 and 80 catches per se. That's right there is very solid. You have Antoine Green, who's going to want now some love and attention. Now you have also Khalif Raymond, who also deserves a lot of attention as well. He's a guy that has a connection with Jared Goff. You got DPJ as well that was brought back. Clearly a guy that is potentially going to compete for that wide receiver spot. Now, do I think that there's guys out there that you could also throw in the competition? Yeah, I think that clearly they could. They're always going to go outside and look. But I feel like if they would have felt that was a need, they would have targeted it in the draft. There was some good wide receivers. They did a lot of work on the wide receivers. It didn't fall that way. So it's a win-win situation. If they don't target it, they have enough. If they do, then you got great competition for those wide receiver 4 spots. I think there's a lot of footballs to go around. You got enough. And then we're not even talking about receptions to Jahmyr Gibbs that you figure you're going to give him the ball a lot more this year. There's only so many mouths to feed, and you guys are trying to open the door where one of these guys, potentially it might be J-Mo, be like, wait a minute, give me the damn ball. You guys got 5 other guys here. I need the football. So I don't need other competition, especially when the offense is really and guys, Ben Johnson's offense is a nightmare to learn. There are so many intricacies that that's part why DPJ didn't see the ball a lot. You got to understand where the defenders are. You got to understand route combinations. And then Jared Goff is a stickler. Like, he needs you at a certain route, boom, at this 8-yard spot and be there. If you're not there, it's going to cause a lot of chaos. And there's so many intricacies based on where the safety's lined up. Is it a cover 2? Is it man-to-man? Is it a zone? Who are you trying to move off of? And so the offense is extremely intricate. And I think that's why you brought in a Big Ten wide receiver that you gave some money to, and you'll give him an opportunity as well. So I just think that outside right now, going outside the organization is not needed. You got guys that you're going to develop, and you got a stout enough offense to go out there and handle business.
That's very weird. Wow, it's like he said.
Well, let me say my side. Well, okay, just because does it mean we're both could be on the right side here, Doc? My side of this is when you're looking at it, you lost Josh Reynolds and you essentially have the same wide receiver room from last year minus Josh Reynolds, to where you have a J-Mo who I think we all think that he needs to make that jump to wide receiver 2, and I think he has a chance to do it, and he can do it. And then same with DPJ to kind of take that the Josh Reynolds role to kind of have that production, and he's done it for 1 year. It's just, to me, my conversation with Jeff yesterday, it's what if one of those guys don't work out? You haven't seen them do that yet here in Detroit, and you're not in a position, at least in my mind, you're not in a position here with this Lions offense to where you have the luxury to test a guy out somewhere and him not work out, because it's not like it last year anymore to where, hey, we just want one playoff game and we're moving on. Like, yes, we got the playoff win. No, we want to win a Super Bowl at this point. This is a Super Bowl team. And to me, when I look at it, we don't have the luxury to just hope two of your top 3 wide receivers end up being that, to where, hey, maybe if Zay Jones is available, you can bring him in, just like the corner room. You can bring him in to compete and put pressure on those guys, help those guys get better and move and kind of keep going forward, to where, say, knock on wood, someone goes down in a certain week or in the playoffs, you have that, and you don't have to rely on a 7th round pick and Antoine Green in his 2nd year that hasn't touched the field to step up and be like, hey, we need you on the Super Bowl offense now. That's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with like I trust those guys in house.
Yeah.
I just think, hey, smartly, in my head, that's the smart way to go about it.
No, absolutely. You always look. I think the name that circles the wagons quite a bit, that's in my mentions, that I would have no problem with, Tyler Boyd, would be great. Great addition. Go sign him, bring him in. But Booner, you got to look at it from this perspective, okay? Similarly to how the Lions describe their draft philosophy. Hey, that not everybody can fit what's going on. Not everybody from the outside can come in and get stuff done in that quick of a time. Yep. So post June 1, you have the opportunity to see who gets cut and what happens at training camp. There is a chance they do it. But at the same token, what I'm saying is that it's not a position of need at this point in time. And what that means is heading into training camp right now, the depth chart looks pretty good at the wide receiver spot. You're pretty happy. But yeah, if somebody comes available that currently we don't know, that's still on a roster that gets cut post June 1, there's still a lot of guys that could be on the final year of a deal. There could be a guy that's not happy with this contract that starts spouting off, pay attention in training camp to the guys that are unfollowing the teams based on their contracts. And then, hey, if there's a wide receiver you like, we can talk about it. But sitting here today, the roster's pretty good at wide receiver. I'm pretty happy with it. And I think you can go into the season with the guys you got and handle business. And look, yeah, there's always opportunities for improvement, always the opportunity to scour the landscape. Brett Holmes has done it before and he'll do it again. Could be at the trade deadline. You could be waiting for opportunities there. But at the same token, you realize now that he just spent a couple months negotiating the contracts for St. Brown and Sewell, probably giving some attention to Jared Goff, that maybe the wide receiver board is not one that he's actively browsing at this time, but he could. Absolutely.
I hope starting after the draft, that's an active browse.
Active browse for wide receiver. Who do you like, Booner? Who's your wide receiver one? Who's your wide receiver?
I like Boyd. I would like to go out and get a Zay Jones. Like, as soon as he got cut, that's one to me instantly. Brad should be on the phone. Hey, that's a vet to replace a Josh Reynolds who gets, last year he only played in 9 games, had 400 yards. The year before he had like 800 yards for the Jags. And he's a veteran. I'm with you on the side, Doc, to where it is a tough offense to just bring a guy in. But at least for me, if you can get a veteran player that's been in the NFL for 6, 7, 8 years and knows what he's doing, like a Tyler Boyd or a Zay Jones, I think that improves your offense and it gives you a little bit of depth. So because there's going to be injuries, we know that. JMO at some point, the guys are going to get injured. If you're in the playoffs and someone goes down, you need, especially on this offense, like you need depth. You need Super Bowl depth. Go look at other wide receiver rooms, at least to me around the NFL, like the Bears. That wide receiver room's
more.
Yeah.
But hey,
a little different, but I'm just showing out like the Eagles wide receiver room.
Also, too, you got to feed Brock Wright. He got a contract raise.
Oh, you don't got to feed Brock Wright.
Sure you do. You got to give him some touchdown love. Sure you do.
You maybe, but he's not needing to
just want to win a Super Bowl over here, Doc.
Don't sleep on the tight ends on this roster. Dan Campbell's the head coach. Steve Hyden is a great tight ends coach, and that's a tight end is a quarterback's best friend. Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, James Mitchell. Those guys are going to get some touches too. You guys, there's only so many touches to go around.
They'll get some, but
I'm just interested. Strictly outside of Saint and Khalif, I'm interested to see what happens outside of those two guys.
Could I interest you in Isaiah Hodgkins, a former New York Giant wide receiver, Doc? I would say a very fine wide receiver in their playoff run.
Okay, listen, I don't target guys from the Jets or from the Giants or the Jets. Those New York teams.
I'll read the as of right now, it's DJ Chark, Odell, Michael Thomas, Hunter Renfrow, Allen Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins. I feel like Paris Campbell got picked up, and then Laviska Shenault. Those that's who's really out there.
But like,
there's going to be more.
Yeah. So that list really excites you guys? My God, Jeff.
That's what I'm saying.
I like that. I'm Isaiah Hodgins fans. Jarvis Landry potentially, but
I think you wait until there's cuts. Once there's cuts, there's gonna like you said, Doc. There's gonna be there's gonna be cuts. And
that list, you can scratch off those names. Those are not guys that are gonna be guys that are gonna really wow anybody outside of the hardcore people that just want a wide receiver. They're okay, but you got enough. You, like I said, Antoine Green. Big, tall wide receiver that's been in the system for a year. So you got to see what he can do. And Jameson Williams, guys, he only had less than 30 catches. Now he's going to triple potentially his production. There's only so many pass plays they're going to call in the game. So I think you're fine. And I think that your concern level about the wide receiver is good to always want to have the best players, but some positions you could say we're pretty good at the names that you got on the depth chart right now. It's pretty good.
Not even a Cole Beasley, huh?
Oh my!
I mean, all right, Klotz, I'm trying to prove a point over here. You're kicking me while I'm down right now.
Right.
We're done with that one, Klotz.
But Doc, to Doc's point, it's like you want to bring up the injury thing. Like, okay, go through every single position because they're going to have injuries. Like, just bring up a bunch. Linebacker. They got to sign a linebacker, guys. Could be an injury.
They have depth at that
Alex
position.
Anzalone gets injured.
They have depth.
Steel Chambers, very fine Buckeye linebacker, and Anthony Pittman replacement.
I get it. I don't mind him adding players to the very fine players you mentioned, very fine individuals. But like John said, it's not the draft.
I think that
the potential, you're drafting on.
Brad Holmes needs to be still looking at kicker and safety. The kicker they got from Michigan doesn't have the biggest leg. So that's not competition. I would keep looking for kickers. I hope that a veteran gets cut unexpectedly. And
Jake Bates?
Maybe Jake Bates, but he's going to have some offers. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities across this league. He might have his pick of the litter there. Maybe it's Detroit. I hope that that's the case. That would be something I think the fans would really, really love and appreciate. Safety position, you still kind of don't have a lot of depth at, so you got to focus on the safeties than the wide receivers right now. Come on, guys. Defense. Defense is the name of the game right now for the Lions. Offense is pretty good.
Defense, but John, you have to keep that offense top 5. You have to keep that offense top 5. If that drops below, we have Houston. Right. We have a problem.
Imagine
fearful. If that happened.
Don't be fearful. That offense is going to purr. Don't worry at all.
Shout out Ben Johnson.
Don't worry. Don't worry at all.
Doc, real quick, staying on that, talking about the safety depth, because this is what I kind of talked about the Rakestraw pick. I don't love it, but if they move him into the nickelback/safety spot, do you think that's where they could move him inside that depth piece, especially later on in the season where I'm sure injuries will arise?
Yeah, right now, the way in which people are kind of viewing it, clearly, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Kirby Joseph. Now, early on, you might see Brian Branch at that spot. I think that's kind of the early leader in terms of the talk and discussion is that Brian Branch could play safety more. That allows Rakestraw or Amik Robertson to play inside the nickel spot. So it's going to be real interesting when Kirby Joseph does come back, how that looks. Do they still target maybe a Diggs or somebody else it comes available at the safety spot? Yeah, and also too, Vaki. I know that they said they want to use him at the running back spot, but maybe if someone gets dinged up in practice, who ends up going back there? You still got Brandon Joseph as well, a young player that not many people are talking about. So I do think they do need some depth. They do need to keep addressing it because, clearly Kirby Joseph's injury, the hip surgery, is going to keep him out until the start of training camp. So some answers will come in a month or so when the mandatory mini camp comes out and the veterans are forced to come in, and we'll start to see who's competing where, and we'll start to maybe have more answers to some of these questions. But you guys are right. Safety is a spot that they got to pay attention to early on. It's an area of need. It's a little bit of a concern right now.
Well, John, I saw a video of Vaki absolutely leveling Jalen Polk today, and I want that man at least, safety. Even if it's fifth string, if he needs his number called because of injury in the game, you put Vaki out there. Let him level Jordan Addison real quick. I mean, Polk was on the ground for a second now, and that's a top 40 wide receiver, top 40 pick in this draft.
Absolutely. Well, Doc, we appreciate you. Look, Doc just working OT with the fellas. We love having Doc on. He's
Brad
on
Holmes guy.
Wednesday. Big Brad Holmes guy. Checks all the boxes, certainly. John, you guys can check out John's stuff. It's all in the description. Publisher of All Lions. Please go get a read. The man's been working his ass off. He's grinding. Detroit Sports Podcast. Check out his work. John, we'll catch you next Wednesday, my guy. It's nice to talk to you.
I can't wait. We'll talk just before rookie minicamp. Thank you, guys. Check out All Lions. Check out our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Bold opinions, bold stances. We got podcasts, video podcasts, everything that you want, inside knowledge of the Detroit Lions. And look, guys, thank you so much. It was a grind covering the draft, but for some reason, as the more hours piled up, the more energy I got, and I was looking forward to this chat amongst others. Look, maybe I was wrong. I have never smoked weed, but the happiness that people were experiencing downtown made me say, You know what? Maybe one day.
Doc. I got you, Doc.
Maybe one day, if the numbers hit a certain mark in a year or two, if you keep having me on, maybe I'll just pop a Corona and go down to one of these places and take a gummy on the air and see what happens. You know, get the sensors ready.
Oh,
pop
man.
Pop a teddy, pop a rope, see what happens. You never know. I might laugh or I might jump and be all anxious and paranoid. You never know. Be the first time I do something like that.
Take one for the first time heading into training camp.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't listen to Klotzy.
Can you imagine the questions he'd ask though?
Yeah, don't listen to Klotzy.
Exactly. That was fun. That was fun. One of the jokes we played, because by the time we're 40 hours in, we were all delirious. And one of the reporters is great, was like, what if we just all started tripping and just started asking weird questions like, yo, Brad, we ain't down with some of these picks, man. When you finna gonna get a wide receiver? We were getting delirious because of all the hours we were putting in. And some of the jokes we were saying, it was a good time. And part of my fun is coming on here and cutting up with you fellas. I appreciate the time. I can't wait for next week. When you finna talk about Jameson Williams, start talking about JMO. I want to hear it.
All right, I got you, Doc. I'm throwing JMO in. I'm gonna be a JMO guy. Let's go.
And John,
he left.
He's got him off like that. That was terrible.
He's like a shooting star. Like he's there and then he's gone. That's the presence of the Doc, John Maakaron. You get a Crunch Time exclusive. Him indulging in some.
By the way, too, can we throw this out there? He talked about being delusional as well at the end of the draft weekend. When we tried to do we tried to record a video after one of our streams at like 11 or midnight or something, and we recorded 20 something times. Record, because we were just so like delusional and could not stop laughing. So I feel Doc on that. It's one of the wildest moments.
That was hilarious. Yeah, we couldn't. What a weekend. I mean, that was fun, man. I can't wait, man. Every single year we'll get to do this with the fellas. It'll be
Jeff,
a lot of fun. Can't wait.
I see you just pulled mine up. Can I request to go last?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a shock.
I'll go first. Yeah, and I'll break down. So what we're going to do, for those who just joined or have been tuning in, we're giving our top 10 teams. It is early, but at the same time, we're doing it top 10 teams now post NFL draft. I will start. I will give you my top 10 teams in the NFL.
Here we go.
We're going to all give our own list here. So let's start with mine. All right, here's my top 10 NFL teams post NFL draft. Let me talk to you for a second. Okay. So coming at number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't need to explain much. They were the reigning Super Bowl champions, and they had a pretty good draft. And until I'm proven otherwise, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that defense, I don't care that they lost to Jerry Sneed. They are the number 1 team in the NFL as of right now. Number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, listen, I got to give them the nod. They're in the Super Bowl. They had a really good draft. Even the Ricky Pearsall pick in the first round, which a lot of people did not. I know we Pearsall. And I think what they needed, especially in the postseason, efficient route running. And Ricky Pearsall got an A 4.0 at Route Running University. And I think that's a hell of a pick by the 49ers. And their star in the lead, ahead of the Lions in the NFC, in my opinion, before the NFL season. I have the Lions right after them. It's not that much of a difference, in my opinion. The Lions come in at 3rd. They significantly upgrade their secondary, and rightfully so. A team that was in the NFC Championship game battling with the 49ers are back, and they are the number 3 team in the NFL. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. Give me a draft in which the Ravens have not just absolutely nailed. They nail the draft every single year. They did it again, and they got significantly better already on a team that I believe is very, very good. Now, postseason success, different conversation. If we're talking about teams that'll translate to the postseason, I don't know if the Ravens will be there, but certainly with Lamar, former MVP, now 2-time former MVP, you got to give them the nod. Number 5, I have the Eagles. They're back. They had the lead in the division, one of the best teams, and they collapsed last year. I don't believe that happens this year. They are better. They added some damn good, not only free agents, but also a draft. Cooper DeJean. They got Quinyon Mitchell, my number 1 corner. I thought they had a really good draft. And on top of that, their free agency was pretty impressive as well, just like the Lions was. And they are the 5th team in the NFL. And number 6, I have the Houston Texans. Houston Texans. This is not Houston. We have a problem. They are the solution. All right. You have the best defense.
You got to stop with that. You've got to stop with that saying. You've got to stop.
Hey, it's my turn. It's my turn.
I apologize.
Right?
Sorry.
The Texans.
Say it again. What was it?
The Texans.
What was the saying?
I said it's not Houston. Damn it, Booner. Houston. They don't have a problem, Booner. They have the solution in Danielle Hunter. All right. They have the solution with Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry. They added Stephon Diggs. They had a pretty good draft as well. And I think CJ Stroud in year 2 is going to be an absolute menace. So I'm giving them the 6th spot in my top 10 NFL teams. The Bengals, they come in at 7. Joe Burrow, can he stay healthy? That's probably the biggest question mark. If he could stay healthy, I think the Bengals, T. Higgins, they don't have Tyler Boyd, but at this point, you bring up a lot. Chase Brown, who I think could this year, I'm going to see if he can solve their problems, at least in the run game. I like the Bengals, man. They're still a top 10 team. At number 8, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I'm high on the Rams this year. Matthew Stafford, they got to protect him, and they definitely did by signing Jonah Jackson, and they made some pretty good additions as well. Their team, I like it a lot. Post Aaron Donald, they addressed defensive line, offensive line in the draft. They got better in the trenches. And I think they're going to be a really good team, given Matthew stays healthy, but I have confidence he will. Number 9, I have the Jets. I know a lot of people, Aaron Rodgers, he stinks. I understand that, former Packer. The Jets, defensively, it's unreal. And then you go to the offense, and they made some additions. I don't know, they are now in all – their focus is protecting Aaron Rodgers. The offensive line, much better. They drafted Fashanu as well, and he's going to be some good depth there in case of an injury. They added Braylon Allen on top of who they already have in Breece Hall. I like the roster, man. They got weapons, so you can't discount that at all. Now, number 10, I have the Green Bay Packers. Yes, they're here. Jordan Love, pretty good year 1, and I do think he'll follow up with that. Like John said, they're going to be the only team that truly challenges the Lions in terms of winning the division, so that's why I have them. But those are my top 10 NFL teams. There you go. Hey. Yeah.
Should we save the critiquing for all of them after?
Yeah, I say we all go over ours and at the end say,
that's
like,
fine.
How do we all do here? Because I think they're all going to be pretty similar, to be honest. I just have a feeling most will be similar.
Lucas, talk to the people. What do we got?
All right.
Jeez.
This is my list.
Gosh.
This is my list.
The Jets at 7?
I don't want to take much time with it. Kansas City, number 1. They just improved their wide receiver core. I think they're going to be another top 4 defense in the NFL this year. The Lions, I think the pieces that they added on defense, when you look at, they were up 17. I know that the 49ers are going to get Hufanga back, but I just think this is going to come down where the Lions were a younger team next year, and a lot of this talent's going to grow. And I think losing Jonah Jackson against the Niners, having Kevin Zeitler is an upgrade. And 4, I'm putting the Philadelphia Eagles up here, fellas. I think Jalen Hurts' whole offense is about to be explosive this year, even more than what we saw with Shane Steichen. And I just think it's because of Saquon Barkley coming in. And that defense with Vic Fangio, they're about to turn up as well. So I think they win the NFC East by a landslide. And then, Jeff, what you said about the Baltimore Ravens as far as them not missing a draft, the fact they got Derrick Henry, that team's going to be winning the AFC North most likely. But I could see a situation where the Bengals do. But I think they're going to be a team that's just going to be a nightmare to face offensively and defensively all year. The Houston Texans at 6. I was fighting some demons putting them here just because of my takes yesterday, but it's hard as of right now to keep these guys outside of the top 5 even, because I know they lost to the Ravens in the playoffs this year, but CJ Stroud year 2 is going to have more experience. The pieces they just added on defense, as well as Stephon Diggs, who's not the Stephon Diggs that he was, but still every team would want a Stephon Diggs if he wasn't that character issue off the field. And the Jets, flame me all you want. Are we just acting? Like if they didn't have Joe Flacco last year, that they probably weren't in the playoffs? If they get half of what Aaron Rodgers was, this team's winning the AFC East.
Did the Jets have Joe Flacco last year?
We're acting like
no.
Garrett Wilson wasn't a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Was Zach Wilson. We're acting like they don't have Breece Hall up there. We're acting like they didn't get Tyron Smith on the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers just has to be healthy for 12, 13 weeks.
This man's about to cry over the Jets.
And because I think it blows my mind how everybody was so high on this team last year. So high on them, and for good reason. And now that very talented roster is hearing all this negative hype. And I'm sorry, the Stephen A. Smith saying, as much as we hate to hear it, we hated to hear it for a reason. Aaron Rodgers, that's a bad man. That's a bad man, Aaron Rodgers. And I just think the NFL is going to get reminded of that. And to finish it off, Bengals,
Thank
Rams,
God we moved on from the Jets talk.
The 7 through 10 to me, I put because of quarterback and running back play, and defense. I think in order. I think the Bengals not on the defensive side, but Joe Burrow. I just think at this point he's levels above Matthew Stafford and Jordan Love. I think it's hard to debate that. But the Jets defense just takes it. But I think Breece Hall is going to have a year too. People are sleeping on Breece.
Are you still on the Jets or the Bengals at this point?
I'm done with the
I can't figure it out.
More.
I mean, is that your team? You might as well root for the Jets over the Lions.
Hey, we'll get Gentry here.
Pardon me, Buffalo Bills stand.
Jeez,
I want to get to
Bills over the Jets.
I want to get to Gentry's list. Gentry, you can there's a team on here Booner's not going to like either. But let's get to Gentry's list, and then we'll get to Booner's list, and then we can save all the arguing for afterwards. But Gentry, take it away. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't get the Jets hate either. I'm not going to spend too much time on it.
I don't get the Jets hype.
KC at number 1. I think the Lions filled a lot of their holes in the offseason. They're going to be right at number 2. I think the Ravens, even though they lost a couple guys on the defensive side, they had a great draft. The 49ers are the 49ers. Not much to say about that. Like Lucas said with the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, I think Jalen Hurts has a bounce-back year. Number 6, they might be a little high from last year, but I got the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow is going to pick up right where he left off. Number 7, I have the Rams. That is pretty much dependent on Matthew Stafford's health. I think they'll be great if he stays healthy. They did a lot to address the defensive side of the ball in the draft. And then the Texans, in my opinion, probably had the best offseason, really secured all their needs, and they had a good draft. And then for the Jets at number 9, for all the reasons Lucas just said. And then I think the Packers, I think Jordan Love takes another step next year, and they did a good job addressing their needs through the draft and the offseason as well.
Mm-hmm. Solid list, Gentry. Let's get to Booners. Don't forget about Malachi Corley. Dog.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's going to be a shame when some guys get hurt on that team and they start dropping. You guys are going to be like, oh, no, I thought the Jets injuries.
Yeah, imagine if something happened with the Bills. Imagine if the Bills
are fine. Bills are fine. Guess what? Even if something happens with the Bills, guess what they do? They have the top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and they keep winning and winning.
Wide receiver
find ways to win football games. Last year when Von Miller went down the heart of their defense, guess what? They still end up making the playoffs and winning
Booner,
that division.
I'll tell you what.
Throwing things out there. All right, let me talk about my list.
Bills fuck around and win the division. Sean McDermott's getting extended.
No, he won't. He'll get fired.
Yeah, I don't get Booner's like ideology with that. Like they win the division, but he's fired.
Because they won the division 4 straight years. All right, let me talk about my list real quick. You guys take a step back real quick. Let me get my bag here real quick. Hold on. You guys saw, Booner, the Lions are going to be number 1 on your list. No, they're not going to be number 1. I'm realistic. I'm a leader of the Booner path. Guess what? We're realistic around here, and we tell the people how it is so we can keep getting better and keep getting better. Number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be number 1 on my list until it's proven otherwise. And I think at some point, I would hope the Detroit Lions get to jump them and be number 1 on that list. Number 2, San Fran. I was thinking about this today, actually having a conversation with Adam today about San Fran and the Lions. And the Lions did add pieces, especially that corner room. They added depth. I just think San Fran and the Lions are like 2A, 2B. And when you look back at it, it's interchangeable. One team beat the other team a couple months ago. So I had to just say, out of respect, I put the 49ers in there. The Detroit Lions, if they played the 49ers tomorrow, would run them off the field by 30 points. I will stand on that. But I will give the 49ers a little bit of respect, threw them at number 2. But I think, again, Jeff, you had them at 3 as well. I think it's 2A, 2B. I think these are going to be the 2 teams playing for the NFC Championship game again. And like I said, I think it's going to be Lions and Chiefs in the Super Bowl next year. And I'll stand on that. Number 4, I have the Texans. I know I was talking about the Colts. I'm a Colts guy. Jeff, just because I think the Colts are going to just because I think the Colts are going to be good this year doesn't mean they're going to be in an absolute battle with the Texans. The Texans are good, dude. You added Stephon Diggs. You got
I guess the Colts.
You got Danielle Hunter. I mean, they did their thing this offseason. So I think
why aren't they in the top 10 then? Why not the Colts?
I think they're going to be good
at some point, Jeff.
At some point this year, they will be. But I like the Texans. I think the Texans are going to be a top 5 team all year long with the talent that they have. Love D'Amico Ryans and what he's done there. And I think that it's similar to the Dan Campbell type thing. The mentality, the culture, and now you have the right pieces and the right players. I think that's a top 5 team in the NFL. Ravens, I don't want to do it, but I just have to put them there because they win football games. They just don't win in the playoffs. Eagles, number 5, boys. Eagles are going to be really good this year. And I think after the draft, when they got Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, that just added to it, and they got that much better. So I love the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to be this Lions will be number 1 in the NFC. I think the Eagles are going to be 2 or 3. They're going to be right there. So I love the Eagles. Saquon being added to that team, getting a new OC, getting a new DC, that's going to change all of the vibes in that room there. The only thing I'm a little worried about is losing the Kelsey brother. That's a problem. Big fan of his. Number 7, I have the Bengals. I think with Joe Burrow back, this is something I spoke with Adam about today. I think if you have a top 3 to top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and if you have a guy that is a game changer, I don't care what your roster looks like. If you just have a competent roster around you, I think you just win football games. That's what the Bengals have, and they have Jamar Chase. They still have T. Higgins, who's not going to end up getting traded. I bet you he stays there. They're going to re-sign Trey Hendrickson. They're going to do all the things needed. Bengals are number 7. They're going to be really good next year. You guys already know the Packers. I'm not going to talk about them. I hate them, but out of respect, they beat the Dallas Cowboys on the road. I think they've done they had a really good second round too to boost up that defense. Number 9. Say what you want, boys. Rams had a great draft. Getting Braden Fisk and getting Jared Verse, unbelievable to boost up that defensive line. The defense is going to be good. The secondary is getting better. And I think, honestly, if we're being honest, the weapons that they have, absolute dogs. Guess who's in the running back room now, fellas? I'm drawing a blank on
Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams. Guess who's in there with him?
Blake Corum.
They're going to be absolutely dominant. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy, that's a really good football team. You're going to be in a battle with them again in the playoffs. Number 10, best team in that division, the Buffalo Bills. If you have a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, very closely. I want all of you guys open up your ears, clean your ears out, do what you have to do. Last year, people were saying the Bills, they kept throwing them outside. They were like, people were putting them in the power rankings at one point, like 15, 17, 18.
Oh my God.
Power rankings, top 10. Because guess what? You have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It's the same thing similar to a Patrick Mahomes. Just give him some sort of weapons, and he's going to win you football games. He's going to win you football games. There's 3 quarterbacks there's 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this league that do that. Josh Allen is one of them. Case closed. I'm done.
Well, I'm gonna real quick before I just absolutely evaporate you. I'm gonna put this
evaporate me for the Bills.
No. You can have that's a whole nother thing.
The Texans? Okay.
Oh, we're gonna get there for sure. Yeah,
sorry, I think they have a good roster and a great.
Other than that, Boone, I really like your list though. I think it's good.
Yeah,
I thought I put together a very well list outside of maybe is some people want to say is the Bills. If I would have had the Jets in the Bills spot, you guys probably would be, you know what.
Okay, here's the thing though.
Yeah.
You have the Texans as the 4th best team. I'll ask you before we even argue.
4th best roster in this league.
I got your back, Boone.
Where are the Colts on your top 10?
I think the Colts are you could say like they're top 15. I just think again.
So how is the top 15 team going to top 4 team till the end for the division? A game difference.
The Colts
comes down to the last game.
The Colts are a top 11 team right now. By the time preseason ends, and probably week 3 of the NFL season, it's going to be hard to leave the Colts outside of the top 10 power rankings. It's going to be hard.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask you a question real quick? Can I throw something by you here real
paper.
Quick? Let me give you an example. Last year, the Ravens power ranking probably were number 1 in the NFL at the end of the regular season, correct?
What? Yeah.
Let me give you an example, correct? And guess what? The Browns were like a game out from winning that division with Joe Flacco. Or not with Joe Flacco. Who was the quarterback?
For who, Boone?
The Browns.
That was a mix of players. Yeah.
Joe Flacco. So with Joe Flacco, guess what? And guess what? They were ranked like 12th, 13th. And they had a chance toward down the stretch if the Ravens would have just because you have a chance to win the division, I think you can win the division, doesn't mean I'm like, oh, they're one of the best teams in football.
teams that are at 11, 12, 13, 14, and they're second place in their division, they're fighting for their division as well. That doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean they're great.
No.
But I think the Texans have one of the best rosters in the NFL now after the NFL draft and after free agency, to where you can argue, and one of the best coaches, you can argue they're a top 5 football team right now in the NFL.
Yeah,
and you can still say the Colts did a great job as well, except they're sitting there at 11 and 12.
See, I agree with that. Colts did a great job. Like, they had a good draft, but like you said, you wouldn't be surprised if they messed around, maybe win the division. They're going to.
I said I wouldn't be shocked if they compete for the division. If they compete for the division,
Lucas did say they would win the division.
Doesn't mean that
I'll put my nuts, because think about this way, Jeff.
You did say that. That's
unbelievable.
Let me explain my reasoning. Would you say that the Lions have a, let's go even 75% chance at winning the NFC North?
The Lions?
Yeah, with the Packers?
I would say, yeah. Maybe I'd go.
Could you see a situation where the Packers win the NFC North this year? Do you think it's possible?
Do I see the? Sorry, repeat that again.
Do you see there's a possible situation where the Packers win the NFC North this year?
I mean,
even though the
there's
Lions
always
are the better
chance, but no, I would say the Lions should win this division. Could I see a chance? Like, sure, yeah, I guess there would be. I don't think it will happen.
Where at least my logic is that little chance, that peak of hope. I think for the Colts, it's bigger than the Packers, and that little chance, that little window, I'm jumping through it. I'm putting my nuts on the table. When I get this next paycheck, you bet your ass, I'll screen record it. Colts win the AFC South. Plus probably like 1,700. Book it.
So where are you at, Booner? He said he's standing on it.
I'm not going to sit here and say Colts are going to win the division. What I said yesterday, and I'll stay on this, is I think there's a chance down the stretch. And I said this to you yesterday, and you laughed. I don't need to have a take on the AFC South. I don't need
there's a chance, like.
But I think when we come down,
are you talking? Are you
going to let me explain myself? Are you going to let me explain myself? Are you going to let me talk?
Yep.
When week 17, 18, 16, 17, 18 come down, you're going to start seeing these scenarios pop up. If the Colts win this and the Texans lose, they're going to be in an absolute battle down the stretch, I feel like. I don't think the Colts do it. I think they're going to be in a battle, and they're going to give the Texans a run for their money for this division, and I think they're going to be a lot better than people think. They have a nice roster, great head coach. I think they're going to give the Texans a little bit of a run for their money in that division. And I'm not going to sit here and die on the hill because I like this Texans roster. Right. I love DeMeco Ryans. I think they're going to have obviously there's a reason they're the favorite for this division. But the Colts are very underrated football. They won 9 games last year with Gardner Minshew, and all they've done was add talent.
So that you'd say they're 11?
I think they're right outside the top 10. I would say
Jeff,
that the Dolphins are there, the Jets are there, the Colts are there.
See, well, you're different because Lucas, you said they're going to.
So you should be coming at Lucas, not me. Lucas
no. Because at least I don't know what you're on right now.
I think they're going to compete for the division. Well, I don't have to put them in my top 10 if I think like there's going to be teams around the league that are going to compete for the division and they're not in my top 10.
Well, I mean,
that's the way the NFL works. You should be asking. No, Jeff, you shouldn't be going. You should be asking Lucas if he thinks they're going to beat the Texans in the division. Why the Colts aren't in his top 10? What are you coming at me for over there?
I'm ready for the question. He goes, look.
I don't
know who Booner kind of looks like right now.
Talk to your guy over there with the Hutch jersey on. Don't talk to me.
If you can't take the heat, I'll go to Lucas.
I didn't say they're going to win the division.
You said it'll be neck and neck.
I think they're going to be in a battle. Jeff, how many times in the NFL do you see the 1 and 2 team in the division fighting for it down the stretch? All the time.
Yeah. But guess who's also in their division? They got some other good teams, actually.
I think the Colts are the second best team in that division. That's what I'm saying. This guy down here is the guy that thinks they're going to win the division. Quit coming at me. Get it straight over here, Jeff.
By the way, this is a response to your energy yesterday. You were coming at me. Oh, well, there's a chance. There's always a chance. There's always a chance. Yeah, I know there's a chance.
Dude, just because I think a team's going to get second in their division and have a chance to win it doesn't mean they're going to. How many divisions are there? How many divisions?
So how many games do you think they'll win? Houston's probably going to win 12 games, so you think 11.
30. There's eight divisions, Jeff. Jeff, there's 8 divisions. There's 8. Jeff, there's 8 teams that come in second place. I can't have all 8 second place teams on my top 10.
So you'll think they'll win like 11 games, will be right behind them.
I think there'll be a game out of the division.
Okay. All right. Hey, I just
And
wanted.
you know what? Adam's point here. Exactly, Adam. Exactly. Thank you, Jeff. Read his comment and indulge in that.
No, that's to you, bro.
You're the one because we don't have the Colts in our top 10. You're coming at us being like, well, you said they could win the division. You're coming at us.
No. He's saying like you can't. Your argument is
I'll rebuttal.
Okay, Luke, whoever the Colts defenders. His point is you're saying, well, you never know in the season. There's no right now.
You're the one coming at us because we said they could put
the Colts in your top 10.
Booner, let me talk for 2 seconds.
This is you, Jeff. You're using that against us.
Do it.
You're using that against us, Jeff.
Do it.
You're using that against us.
You do it.
That was towards you.
When it was time to stand on business, nobody stood.
I'm trying. I can't even get a fucking word in. I can't even get a
Go ahead, Klotz. Hey, Jeff, before Lucas goes.
The beginning of the show, if you're doing post-draft rankings, you're obviously going to factor in these rookies in this draft class. You haven't seen any of those motherfuckers sniff an NFL snap. So this is all off of paper. And it has nothing to do with coaching, chemistry, culture, which we all like to laugh at. But when you look at the Detroit Lions, it's taken seriously. I think what the Indianapolis Colts are cooking right now is something special. So off paper, it's hard to put them in the top 10 because I think they're good at a lot of things, but great at nothing. But you know what that is? That's very fucking consistent. And if you look at how the Colts have played over the course of the season, you can't put them here now because on paper they're not a top 10 roster. But I already know that they're going to become regular season. They will be on my top 10. And I do think that this is a team that they're going to at least split with the Texans because they're able to run the ball with the running back and the quarterback. They're going to be able to RPO any team, and that's what you need to do when you have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. How do you slow them down? You RPO it. Oh, who do they have a quarterback? Anthony Richardson. And they're 5 fucking deep at wide receiver. And then you look at the defense they have. Their defensive line is probably top 10 in the NFL, and I think that's pretty important. They have a top 10 linebacker room, and they probably have a top 15 secondary. So when you factor all of that in, that's a probably 11-win football team, and that's a top 10 football team in the NFL. You don't have to hate it, you don't have to love it, but that's how I feel.
Hey, well, Booner apparently agrees because he just supported everything you said. So
I think that they're going to be a good football team this year.
Win the NFC South, and I disagree.
I don't think that. I think they're going to be a really good football team.
You just backed them up the whole time. Where are you at?
I think they're going to be a good football team. Where are you at? Why can I think they're going to be a good football team and not win their division?
That's where I'm at. The Colts will be fine.
Then why did you just come at me all?
And you don't even know what you're backing up,
brother. You're scared to go at Lucas. I think.
What? No, I appreciate that Lucas stands on business. I appreciate that Lucas stands on business.
Okay.
That's what that's why
all
I'm
right,
like, okay,
all right.
Let's just provided points about the Colts.
Unbelievable.
I respect it. I disagree. You're over here like, no, I don't think so. And then Lucas goes, you're like, yeah.
No,
yeah.
See, that's what I'm not. Okay, let's move on because that's not what I'm doing. But okay.
You just sound the horn like 40
I can sound the horn for my guy. Why can't I hype my guy up?
What?
This is unbelievable.
This is unbelievable.
And let's get out of here.
Blown away. I am blown away. All right, you know what? It is 10:04. We got to end the show here.
10:04.
Who won the poll?
I won the poll. Who
want
came
to
in second?
revote? Want to recount?
Okay. Yeah, Booner came in second.
No way.
Gentry came in third. Lucas came in fourth, according to the people, and he just perfectly at the same time lagged out. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Doc. Great guest. He crushes as always. And then tomorrow we'll be back and we'll have another guest for you. Until then, appreciate you guys. Have a great night.
Peace.
Stay blessed.
Love you guys.